All right, guys. Today we have CPI inflation data. We'll see what happens. Inflation data drops. It's a pretty big day in the market. Yesterday we had Jerome Powell. Today we got CPI data. Tomorrow we have PPI data. Next week we got some other stuff too. Um, Market Watch is saying we got Powell speaking again next week on Monday at noon, but I don't see anybody else mirroring that. Oh, we do have Powell speaking at Monday on. Okay, so Powell does speak Monday at noon. I believe he speaks at the Stanford Business Forum, but I'm not 100% sure. So we'll see. What's up, Radical Analyst Han, Rico, Dome, Doge, John, Ray, Pawn, Keith? What's up, team? Were you streaming yesterday? I couldn't find the channel. Yeah, we were streaming. We streamed Jerome Powell. We streamed late though, so I got home the night before at like 1 a.m. And so we streamed, but we started it at like 8 a.m. instead of the normal like 6 a.m. So we did stream, but yeah. What's up, Raz, NDX, Par, W? Yeah, so we streamed a few hours only. So I see somebody saying inflation heating up here in Australia, interest rates rise on the cards. Yeah, so today expected, today's CPI is expected at 1.1% month over month for, and core is expected at, let me see. I believe core is expected a little bit higher, right? Let me see. Core is expected at 0.2% month to month and for June. Both drop right here at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Do we come in high or low? All right. Yeah, I'm gonna put the timer up here. Sorry, I'm drinking my coffee, trying to wake up a little bit. But I will put the timer up. We have hour and 38, or no. Oh, dude, I'm drawing a blank. It is 6:40 market time right now. So we got an hour and 40, an hour and 52 minutes. Is that right? I believe that's right. Yeah, there we go. Hour and 52 minutes. So yeah, we got an hour and 52 minutes left. If CPI is high, time for some inversions. Yes, it's the final countdown. Yeah. Okay. If CPI comes in low, we could trade everything. Yeah, market flew. Uh, when we look at the Q yesterday, Q's over 500, which is crazy. But it ran all the way into the closing bell at 5:03. Settled down a little bit after the close here. If we put up like a 5-minute chart. Um, ran all the way into the closing bell yesterday. Settled down afterwards though, but yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happened with golds today. I'll put gold up. Yeah, I'll put some music on as well. Yeah, so again, Tesla, somebody's asking me about what I think about Tesla. Tesla's up a lot over the past couple weeks, really. Since the 20, yeah, since July started, Tesla's up a lot. And so again, we'll see what happens. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not sure. Tesla's up a lot. What I'm worried about specifically with Tesla, to be honest, is that it's going to pull back after its Cybertruck event. Um, so yeah, we'll see. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried Tesla's going to pull back during its Cybertruck event, or not a Cybertruck. I'm sorry, it's Robotaxi event. I'm worried it's going to pull back. Gold is head and shoulders. CPI can be neutral as well. Yeah, yeah. I get the music up. Hold on, let me put the music up here. Here we go. How to identify CPI, whether it's bullish or bearish. Lower is bullish, higher is bearish, almost certainly. So higher is higher inflation. It's not what we want. We also have earnings today. I forgot about earnings. We do have not bank earnings, but we do have some earnings dropping this morning, specifically Pepsi, Delta released earnings. Yeah, I did see sound. So here's Delta earnings. Delta earnings are out. Delta posted 236 neutral EPS, revenue of 15.41, expected 15.45, lower than expected revenue. Fiscal year EPS view of 7, expected 657. So higher guidance for Delta here. Let's see what Delta's doing. So higher guidance, neutral EPS, and lower revenue is what Delta's numbers showed. And Delta falling down to 43s. The guidance was good though. They expected 7. They expected 6.57. They posted 7. So their guidance was good for Delta. We also have Pepsi this morning. It looks like Pepsi's already. All right, so Pepsi says that its fiscal year continues to expect inflationary pressures to moderate versus prior year, but certain agricultural commodity costs may remain elevated. Put this up on screen too. But I don't think Pepsi's out yet. Let me see. Okay, Pepsi is out. Pepsi posted 223 EPS. They expected 215, so they beat. Pepsi beat. They're down a little bit too, though. Yeah, so Pepsi posted adjusted EPS of 228. They expected 215. Revenue showed 22.5 billion. They expected 22.6. So lower revenue. Better than expected adjusted EPS. Organic revenue is up 1.9%. And they have some other good numbers here, but they're actually dropping some. The big thing for both of these is that revenue came in light for both Delta and Pepsi. So revenue came in a little bit lighter for Pepsi, noticeably lighter for Delta, but yeah. Pepsi beat EPS, so did Delta. Pepsi and Delta both beat EPS but missed revenue. I'm not sure what Pepsi's guidance were, but Delta posted better than expected guidance. Pepsi sees 2024 adjusted EPS at least 8.15 is what they're saying. People invest in gold when there's fear in the market. Yeah, sure. I agree. The thing about gold, though, is that typically gold moves like this. Like, look, so gold, I'm in gold right now, and I'm probably just going to sit in it. But gold has big upward movements on a long-term basis, and then big downward movements. Big upward movements, big downward movements, right? So you can see we had big upward movements in the early 2000s, and then for literally almost a decade, we downtrended. If we continue on that look, we downtrended. Big upward movements in the late 2010s all the way until now. So for the last 10 years, gold has had a big upward move. What I'm worried about for gold is that it's going to start going like this, and start downtrending for a long period of time like it sometimes does. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's what I'm worried about, I guess, is the easiest thing to say. I'm worried that's going to happen. All right, guys. Bro, Twitter will just get you watching some random argument that doesn't have anything to do with me. Somebody's arguing about unpasteurized milk. I don't drink unpasteurized milk, But somehow I'm watching an argument about it, Pepsi missed earnings. Yeah, no, I saw Pepsi. Pepsi posted missed EPS, or no, Pepsi beat EPS, missed revenue. It looks like their guidance was, mixed for Pepsi. We've already said that though and posted Pepsi's numbers above too. Here they are right here. Look, we could just share the post. Pepsi slightly down though, but again, they beat EPS, missed revenue. I think they had better than expected guidance. Higher CPI will almost always push gold and silver higher. Yeah, true. People hedge against inflation with gold. I mean, that makes sense. If CPI comes in higher, gold will be down or up. Down, maybe. I don't know. I don't know, actually. Somebody said, I think it makes sense, but higher CPI might make silver gold go higher because higher inflation means people hedge against it with gold. And so I think that does make sense. Pfizer announcing advanced development of once daily formulation of oral receptor agonist. Trade coin every day, just loaded 50 shares so far. Good luck. Coinbase. Where's Bitcoin at? Is Bitcoin bounced a little bit. It's at 58.6K. AMC up. GameStop had a run yesterday, too, with the rest of the market as well. GameStop got up to 25.30s. Pulled back a little bit, didn't hold, but still trying. Ethereum oil stacking and withdrawing from exchanges to stake supply shock soon. Zap stock finally gave way on a squeeze drop from nearly 20 to 8 today. Did it really? I know Zap was running. I've been gone the last couple weeks. I feel like I've missed out on some stuff. I've just been so busy. So can we hedge against gold with hedge gold against Bitcoin? Well, those are two inflation hedging instruments, though. Like, people hedge against inflation with gold. They hedge against inflation with Bitcoin. So I don't know. We got about 200 people here already, so I know I've been starting late. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm back at home. I should be starting at my normal time from now on. It's just hard to get up. To be honest, it's hard to get up at 5 a.m. on vacation. It's just really hard to get up that early. Inflation has brought gold to all-time highs. High CPI will push gold higher. Oh, maybe. I think we have to look at what gold has done historically. So the last CPI report came in lower than expected. The last CPI report showed up June 12th, and it came in lower than expected. So what did gold do on June 12th? So here's June. Here's June 12th right here, which was a Wednesday. Gold pushed up on lower inflation data. We can prove this by look. Okay, so here's a 5-minute chart. All right, we can go back to June 12th, 6/12, and see this increase right here. This is after CPI showed up lower than expected. And so if gold, I guess this is the opposite of what you're saying. So here's gold's rise. Again, you can see it happens right at 8:30 Eastern time right here. That's when everything's running higher. And again, in this situation, inflation data showed up at 0%. I think they expected 0.1, and we showed up at 0. So it showed up lower than expected here, and we got a surge in price. So, I mean, gold didn't behave like it should. Yeah, but I think the other nuance that you all have to understand about gold is this, right? Is that gold typically follows the macro markets, right? So if the S&P moves up, gold probably moves up. And that's the only like difference between like the inflation hedging argument that I hear from other people and how gold actually behaves when I watch it, is that gold a lot of the time moves with macro. What I mean by that is, like, if something helps the macro market, it helps gold usually as well, right? So what helps the macro market generally is lower inflation, like less inflation, less problems, like lower prices is typically good for gold because it allows other people to buy more gold. Like, the lower prices are, the more people can buy. And so because of that, we had a negative correlation between inflation and gold prices. Inflation came in lower and gold pushed up. And so I don't know, maybe, but I don't know. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's probably not as predictable as you guys want it to be, unfortunately. I just don't think it's that predictable. Again, you can kind of see lower inflation data here, positive gain in gold. And I don't think that's necessarily outside of how it usually behaves either. I typically watch gold. Typically, gold behaves like the rest of the stock market, which is lower inflation is better, higher inflation is worse. It's not always like that, though. It certainly varies. Sorry, let me get the music playing here. But yeah, it certainly varies. I'm going to switch to some old songs. I feel like I've been listening to these songs for a long time. Nobody leaked CPI. We hear people say that all the time. I thought it was maybe crypto that affected it. Nah. It's 3:57 in Cali. You are understood. What? You think that CPI is negative? I really have no idea what CPI is going to show up as. I think it's going to come in slightly higher, or I think it's going to come in as expected, to be honest, personally, at 0.1%. I think CPI is going to show up at 0.1, is what I think. And so I think the reaction to CPI is going to be a little bit less, and I think it's going to show up at 0.1. I might be wrong, but that's just what I think. So apparently there's like an argument going on right now, and the argument on the internet is this, and it kind of shows the declining state of the world, right? Where some streamer, she says that people who drink unpasteurized milk are dumb, right? What followed that was a bunch of her viewers basically saying, "Hey, don't you talk about milk that way." You know, how dare you talk bad about milk? And because they didn't know what raw milk, unpasteurized milk was. And so they start calling her stupid for saying not to drink milk. And so then she responds with, y'all are stupid because y'all don't understand what unpasteurized milk is. And it's this funny argument where people don't know what raw milk is. They don't know that it's unpasteurized means raw, and that drinking unpasteurized milk can be dangerous, but they sell it at some stores here still, and some people still drink it. What's up, Jimmy? Non-farm payrolls was good. Payroll numbers were okay. What did payroll numbers show up as? Let me see. I don't know. I'm not really one that drinks unpasteurized milk. I can't drink lactose in the first place, right? I'm lactose intolerant. I'm lactose intolerant. If I drink milk, like without, if I don't drink lactose-free milk, I get nauseous. Anyways, non-farm payroll numbers came in last week. They showed up at non-farm payroll showed up at 206, higher than expected versus 200,000 expected. We also had the JOLTS report last week, I believe, right? Didn't we have the JOLTS report? Yeah, we had the JOLTS report at 10 a.m. JOLTS report showed up stronger than expected as well at 8.1 million. So payrolls were higher. JOLTS report was stronger, showing economic growth, right? So we had more economic growth than expected almost universally last week. Jobless claims came in slightly high. So that wasn't, that's a little bit worse. And I know what people are going to say. People are going to say stagflation. If you don't know what stagflation means, it's characterized by high unemployment and high inflation, right? So it's called stagflation. I don't know if we're there yet. I think most stuff showed economic growth, and unemployment's still at a historical low. So yeah, for sure. What's your prediction? I think I'm just guessing here. I think CPI is going to show up at 0.1% month to month is my guess. I'm going to go with 0.1% month to month is my guess. Hey, what's up, Beach? Trust me, I know I'm the genetic. I mean, I love milk. Wonder if Coca-Cola... I'm assuming you mean MicroStrategy and Dr. Pepper are down too. Let's see. MicroStrategy is slightly up over the last week. Coca-Cola is down. Kind of, but it's basically flat over the last couple weeks here. I'm in it right now. I'm green. We're slightly green today. Yesterday was a pretty green day too. Monster beverage. 0.1 is month over month. Sure. Don't you think all the economic indicators are showing a significant slowing economy? Like what? Creative. Which ones? Genuinely curious. Which ones over the last 30 days have showed a slowing economy? I'm listening. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just asking which one. GDP is at 1.3%. Yeah, but GDP needed to come down. That's why they're pushing it down. Like, I think if you look at, again, like, we could just look at the last couple weeks of economic indicators, right? Unemployment rate, 4.1%, still pretty low. Payroll numbers showed up higher than expected for non-farm payrolls. So payroll numbers were higher than expected. The JOLTS report, which is a very big report on jobs, showed up higher than expected at 8.1 million. Inflation has slowed as well. So yeah, I mean, if anything, GDP went up. Like, so GDP was expected to show up at 1.2%. And so GDP came in higher than expected. JOLTS report showed up higher than expected. Payroll numbers showed up higher than expected over the last 30 days. So, I mean, it's not slowing more than anybody expected. And to a certain point, like, why do you think the Fed is raising rates? Why do you think the Fed raised rates aggressively? They did it to push the economy down a little bit to discourage spending and combat inflation. But outside of that, most of the other economic indicators are not showing super weak numbers. Again, GDP actually showed up higher than the 1.2% expected. JOLTS showed up at 8.1 versus 7.9. Payrolls showed up at 206. So, I mean, I don't know. You know. Well, I mean, creative. So anytime we're looking at economic stuff, right? Like, I get it. Some people like want the market to pull back, and I get it. Or the economy to pull back, I should say. And again, I think I kind of want the economy to pull back too. I think it's important that the economy pulls back. I think real estate needs a correction. I think we need that type of thing. But anytime, okay, anybody can isolate numbers. You got to look at the big picture here, I think, right? And the big picture shows JOLTS higher than expected, GDP higher than expected, payrolls higher than expected. You know, it's really easy economics-wise to like isolate one number and use that to argue a case, right? But there's always going to be one number that we could say is better or worse to argue it. We got to look at the big picture of all the numbers, though. Can you explain why raising interest rates lowers inflation? Sure. So the Fed has a couple tools to combat inflation, right? The way the Fed keeps a balanced economy is by controlling interest rates. So the way they do it is like anytime, the easiest way to understand it is when people spend too much, what happens? Inflation spikes, right? Like businesses raise prices. If I sell pieces of bubble gum and I have 50 pieces of bubble gum out at a store, and by noon all those bubblegum pieces are gone, right? People are spending a lot. All those pieces are gone. What am I going to do? Well, I could put out more gum, but a lot of business owners are going to raise prices. They're going to say, hey, I'm going to raise prices from 25 cents to 35 cents, you know, and thus inflation has happened because of too much spending. And so one of the Fed's tools to combat too much spending is to push the economy down a little bit, to try to stop spending. One of the reasons to combat inflation, or one of the tools the Fed has to combat inflation, is by raising the federal funds rate, which is short-term interest rates. And eventually that trickles into mortgages, into auto loans, into lending in general, right? And they're doing this to discourage the economy, you know, to push spending down because too much spending is happening. Because if we let people spend too much, prices are going to continue to go up and up and up and up, and then people are really going to be unhappy. And so the Fed raises short-term interest rates. Eventually it trickles into long-term interest rates. They could also do a more desperate thing called quantitative tightening, which is what we're currently in right now, which just means we're not expanding our balance sheet and letting our current holdings mature and run off, and instead our balance sheet is shrinking. This causes banks to keep interest rates high. Essentially, it's the opposite of money printing, which is quantitative tightening, which means that the Fed prints money through creating online reserves and then using those online reserves to buy up financial assets like bonds is what QT is, or QE I mean is. And this happens when the Fed wants to bring interest rates down. So they do this. It injects liquidity into those markets, allows banks to lower interest rates to consumers, and it ultimately brings interest rates down. And they do that if the economy is at risk. If we're at risk for a recession or depression and something breaking, they'll bring interest rates down, stimulate spending, and all that spending will kind of help rebound the economy. Do you think CPI will be 3.1%? I don't know about year over year. I think on the month it'll be I think it'll come in as expected at 0.1. I might be wrong, maybe 0.2, but I'm going to go with it as expected, 0.1 or 0.2. Thank you for your explanation. Yeah, all good, Kurt. Well, I mean, you have to understand creative, kind of like what I just said, which is that the Fed's trying to push the economy down a little bit. Like, it's a funny thing because, okay, on one end here, right? On one end, let's just say this end is like recessions, depressions, and stuff like that. And let's just say this end is inflation, right? Say we start tipping towards inflation on this end, right? And then everybody complains about the prices rising, which is kind of what we're in right now, right? Prices are up too much. Prices have spiked. What are these politicians doing? They say. What is the Fed doing? These jerks. Prices are too high. And so then the Fed says, all right, like, let's raise the federal funds rate. Let's raise interest rates. We're going to raise short-term interest rates. We're going to push the economy down a little bit, try to discourage spending, push the economy down, right? And so then GDP starts to drop, right? And so GDP drops down to 1.2, 1.3%. Then what do people say? People say, oh, look at all the economic weakness. It's the end of the world. It's like, no, that's the point. The point is to bring interest rates high, discourage spending so we control inflation. And it's been working. Inflation has been going down a little bit. Again, I'm not saying things are all perfect because they're not. Prices are still really high. Prices have gone up so much over the last 5 years and they don't really go back down, right? So we're kind of stuck with high prices. It's not the perfect scenario. But that's the overarching point, is to cause the economy to cool a little bit. It's not like a thriving economy is always good, but like people like to preach doom and gloom, and so no matter what, if inflation is spiking, they say, oh no, inflation is spiking, it's the end of the world. If the economy is cooling because the Fed's trying to combat inflation, they say, oh, look at the economic weakness, it's the end of the world. I think when you look at all the other signs, like payroll numbers, like unemployment numbers, like JOLTS report, they're all showing a strong economy. They're all showing a strong enough economy to where we shouldn't panic yet. But again, it depends on how you look at it. And so again, if you're mad about higher prices, you want the economy to cool. You want the GDP to slow. You want payroll numbers to really come in low. You want JOLTS report to show up low, right? And this causes economic weakness, but we need it if we want prices to fall. Just prices are up too much. The real risk right now is not the economy cooling, it's prices. Prices don't go back down once they go up, except for very specific, unusual scenarios. Prices don't really go back down, and so the best we can do is to slow them down. And if you want to slow them down, you need the economy to slow down, because that's the only way to really combat those high prices. There's a give and pull with it all, and it's important to understand that, because if not, people are going to be preaching for like a thriving economy constantly, and that's not a good thing at all, because again, we've already had that and prices spiked to 10% inflation. So we don't want that again. Well, all I'm saying is the economy is really beginning to slow. I mean, in some metrics, sure. In other metrics, it's showing economic strength, which I think is why you have to pay attention to the expectations. The expectations are a guideline for a reason, because it'll show what banks are expecting versus what we actually got. And so the rate of the slowing, so forth, right? Like, we want the economy to cool a little bit, but I still think the economy has been showing resiliency. I think payroll numbers have been high. Unemployment's still pretty low. JOLTS report showed up showed more job openings than expected, right? So more economic growth. Yeah, Fed caused the inflation. Well, I mean, we can blame the Fed, but I mean, I think it's more so that we had a very strange event that happened that impacted the entire world, and the pandemic, right? The pandemic is what spiked inflation and supply chain restraints that were caused by the pandemic. I don't know if that's anybody's fault, really. You know, can we blame the politicians at the time for the flu pandemic that we had, or the flu epidemic that we had in the early 1900s? Not really, you know. I don't think it's anybody. I don't think that is anybody's fault. Now, maybe their reactions to it were poor, but I don't think that's anybody's fault. I don't think we can. I think the reason we got inflation is because the pandemic happened, and we were at risk for a recession and depression, right? So the pandemic happened. People stopped working. People stopped spending. Everybody panicked. Nobody was working, and so the Fed stepped in and tried to save that, because at that point it's kind of a pick your poison scenario. It's, do you want a depression or do you want inflation? You know, most people are going to choose inflation because that means people are usually in generally a better spot than a depression. And if people are unhappy now, they would have really been unhappy in a depression. But in 2020, the Fed stepped in. They lowered the interest rates. They lowered the federal funds rate to try to combat the looming recession/depression that we were getting from, specifically, again, the pandemic. And they brought interest rates down to almost zero. Economy rebounded. Because of the economic rebound that we got, prices started to surge back up from low interest rates, and eventually they hit 10%. And then the Fed stepped in and played the other side of that, which is they played the let's push the economy down through high interest rates game. And then that's kind of what we're in now, where we've been pausing rates for a long time. They've been doing quantitative tightening, lowering their balance sheet a little bit to try to, combat inflation, and it's been working to a certain extent. We still got a ways to go. I like preaching doom, but I stopped seeing it in 2023. I really didn't think the Fed would do this good of a job, especially when they call it transitory. I loaded R's everywhere, but yeah. I'm assuming you meant puts, Fox. Yeah, I mean, listen. Again, people think they're unhappy now. Inflation has gotten under control. People are still working. People are still spending. And inflation is somewhat better, right? I say inflation is better, and people who are still dealing with high prices say, nah, what about these prices? What I mean is that inflation has slowed. Because, again, inflation rises and rises and rises. Inflation rises and rises and rises. If we can get it to slow, if the growth of prices can slow, we're at a better spot. And that's kind of where we're at now, where last time, CPI inflation, which isn't really the Fed's preferred metric, but last time CPI showed up at 0% for CPI month to month, which means prices rose none. They didn't rise at all month to month for CPI inflation. So, we're in a better space than we could have been. And we could have gone into a massive depression and, all that stuff. So we're in a better spot than we could have been, I think. What do you think about CPI up or down? I'm going to go with as expected, maybe slightly higher, but I don't know. Again, I'm not saying things are perfect. What I'll tell you guys is this, though, okay? It's like, I don't personally like to be manipulated by anybody, right? And so I am skeptical of anybody who I think says that the market is always about to fail, that the economy is always about to slow. And the reason I'm skeptical, because I used to be that type of person, right? The reason I'm skeptical is because I've seen it happen for years where people get so stuck on that thesis that they never change and they miss out on the biggest bull runs in the market and the economy, right? Like, again, people, I go over this at least once a day, but I'll go over it again. People were telling me the market was going to crash here, and they were calling me dumb. They were super insulting. It was the Dunning-Kruger effect played out over a really large scale, right? Everybody was telling me the market was going to crash here. I was thinking more contrarian to what they were thinking and didn't think the market was going to crash. I thought my logic of why we wouldn't crash was this, is that we were already down a bunch. Like at this point in time, we were already dropping for a year straight. We were bear marketed for a year straight. And I remember telling people at the time, hey, the market doesn't downtrend forever. Like it's not going to downtrend forever. Eventually, it's going to start bouncing back. And I remember saying this verbatim. Essentially what I was saying was that the market doesn't downtrend forever. I told them over and over again. Again, they made fun, called names, and now most of them have deleted their accounts, and they probably created new accounts with new usernames, and now they're just kind of big mad because they missed out on the biggest bull run the market had last year, which is the market did 24% in 2023. And again, the stock market and the economy are different things for sure. But I think it's important for people to understand election year, chat. It is an election year right now. Very, very rarely do we get economic weakness during election years. Very, very rarely. Now, whether those are the real numbers or they're just putting out those numbers to try to make everybody think things are great, I don't know. But very rarely do we get economic weakness during election years, as well as stock market weakness during election years. And so if we do get corrections, I'm not sure when it's going to be. I will agree, though, right now. I'm not really buying up anything major. I've been like this for a couple months now. I don't mind missing out a couple percent, but this is too high for me right now. I'm not really buying up anything here because it's just too extended. Now, I'm sitting on my current positions for most of them at least. Some of them I've sold, some of them I've added to, but I'm sitting on most of my positions still. But this is too much higher. Like, this is too high for me. It's just up too much. I was one of those people saying it would crash. I made a pivot. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people thought it would crash. Again, Michael Burry didn't help. And I'm critical of Michael Burry because people should be critical. Michael Burry, again, I always think that people want to be the big contrarian that bets on the next big market crash, right? But because of that, people wildly overpredict them. Like, people wildly overpredict market crashes because they want to be the next guy that predicts it, right? But what happens is they just end up predicting it wrong and looking dumb at the end of it. Crashes are very difficult to predict anyway, and so maybe it's time we get a pullback. But again, I think you got to look at, like, crashes historically generally happen once every 5 to 10 years, maybe, right? Like, big crashes happen 1 to 10 years, every 5 to 10 years, maybe. If we look back at the history here, right? I don't know if you want to call this a crash or just a correction, but here's one in 2022, 2 years ago. We can keep going back here. Before that, we had the little mini COVID crash where we pulled back here. That was 4 years ago. We had the 2020 crash here. You can keep going back before that too, where we had this little correction in 2007 with the mortgage disaster here, right? So just in the last, in the last 20 years, we've had 3 significant corrections / crashes. I don't know if it's time for another one. Now, maybe we get a correction, maybe we get a pullback, maybe we get a dip. I'm okay if we do. I'll buy the dip if we get one. But people acting like we absolutely have to crash, we don't. We don't. And again, I'm just gonna wait and see what happens and be reactionary with this type of stuff. Because I think the biggest suckers are the ones that think they know for sure anything's gonna happen, and nobody does. All right, with that said, though, look at NVIDIA pulling back a little bit. NVIDIA dipping down some. Here's the SPY. SPY's falling down. Look at NVIDIA coming all the way back down to 135. A lot of people were hoping it would break lifetime highs. Yeah, let me do a poll here. All right. All right. Vote on the poll. Let me know what you guys think. Can we at least get a pullback? I'm not asking for the market to go to zero. Yeah, I mean, we're going to get one eventually. I would just wait. If inflation is as expected, market will go up. I mean, I don't think that's 100%. If you predict a crash every day and say, I told you so when it happens, internet will have your back. Yeah, if you keep throwing darts at a dartboard, eventually you're going to be right. Yeah, no, I was correct over Michael Burry. I mean, I never really bet against him necessarily, but I told people the market didn't have to crash and that I thought Michael Burry was wrong. And in hindsight, he was. You know, it's a very famous story of Michael Burry where he told everybody the market was going to crash. He made a big cryptic tweet that said sell, right before the FOMC meeting at the time. And a lot of people did. A lot of people jumped on it. You know, you heard his sentiments regurgitated in chat. And I like Michael Burry, too. I love The Big Short. Big Short's really what brought me towards economics and trading. But yeah, so he made that tweet, that really cryptic tweet saying sell. FOMC meeting happened. Market flew up, like had a huge rip. You know, went up big amounts. Then he deleted that tweet, deactivated his Twitter account, and yeah, didn't come back for a while. Because again, I guess the point, like when Michael Burry loses, and I get Michael Burry's sentiments here. Michael Burry, if I was Michael Burry, I'd probably be pretty bearish as well. Because if you don't know who Michael Burry is, Michael Burry was the guy from The Big Short. He's the one that bet against the banks failing and the mortgage market failing in 2008. And people made fun of him for years. He lost friends. His friends sued him even though he made them billions of dollars because he knew something that they didn't, right? And he saw the corruption there before anybody else did. And so he made billions of dollars from it, lost a lot of friends, had everybody make fun of him for years, and then rode off into the sunset billions richer from this big short that he made in 2008, betting that he bet with big banks that the mortgage market would fail. And eventually he was proven right. Everybody that bet against him and made fun of him was proven wrong. And he saw what was there when nobody else did. If I was him, I might be pretty skeptical as well. I might be really contrarian as well. But I think the problem with that nature, that big contrarian nature that he has now, is that he wildly overpredicts crashes at this point. He's predicted 20 crashes over the last 20 years. You know, so at a certain point, he's just overpredicting crashes now because he's too skeptical of everything. And I get it. If I was him, I might be skeptical too. But I think you got to reel in that bias a little bit for Burry. But again, he's a billionaire. He knows something that I don't. So what do I know? He did take a huge short when it was at 440s. Yeah, again, I bet that CPI is going to show up as expected at 0.1%, maybe 0.2%, but that's my guess. I might be wrong, though. Who knows? No, I'm not shorting Tesla. So Pepsi earnings are already out. They posted better than expected EPS, worse than expected revenue, and I believe higher than expected guidance numbers. But I might be wrong on the guidance numbers. I know they did post better than expected EPS, worse than expected revenue, and both Coca-Cola as well as Delta are both down on worse revenue earnings. So Delta's down pretty big too. I don't know what I want to do with this. Maybe I should buy it. We just added to Delta a little bit. We'll add some more here. Alright, so we just added to Delta on weakness. We'll see if that works out. Alright. Alright, guys. Alright, guys. So, yeah, so Elon Musk said, quote, the physicality of the brain becomes startlingly obvious upon inspection. It is a biological computer. Our brains shrink over time as we age. And when you see the brain of someone with severe dementia, the damage is not subtle. What is surprising is that it functions at all. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very obvious, like, the brain is similar to a computer. I also think that human beings typically compare what we are to the technology of the time, you know? So, you know, if you look at like automobiles in the early 1900s, they thought we were like cars. Now they think we're like computers because the technology at the time is a computer. So I think we compare ourselves to technology at the time. At the same time, though, I do think we're a lot like computers. And I think it makes the simulation theory look even more realistic when you look at it objectively. Yeah, I trade with Top Step too. The world is a watch. The world is a simulation. The world is blank. Picked up some American Airlines too. So Chart Prime actually wanted to re-sign me. Um, I told them to wait a month because I'm talking with another sponsor right now. To be honest, Chart Prime is great. I love Chart Prime, but yeah, I'm talking with another sponsor currently. But yeah, I still plug Top Step. I still plug Apex. So those are both just affiliates. But yeah, Chart Prime, great company. Check them out. But yeah, they're no longer a sponsor of me. At least this specific month. I might go back to them next month, but I just wanted to look around for some other stuff. So yeah. Yeah, well, I'm kind of looking at something else outside of Chart Prime right now. Chart Prime is great, though. Again, love Chart Prime. Great company. I worked with them for years. But yeah, and I might go back there after a month. Again, I told them I wanted to take a month break just to kind of see something. And so, yeah, I might go back after a month. I don't know. No, Top Step's cool with me being. Yeah, no. I like Top Step. Top Step's great. Um, hey, what's up, Tiny? I think the macro market will be bearish. Well, it depends on um, depends on what inflation data shows up as. Again, inflation data shows up at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, as you can see below me. 8:30. We got the timer up less than an hour. Nice mark. Yeah, so again, we got time. Nothing's going on with Apex, from my understanding. Apex seems okay. You can even look at Apex payouts. Like, this is what's crazy is that, like, people say, oh, Apex isn't paying out. Like, yes, they are. Like, look, so here's just July 9th. Here's July 5th, right? Look at all these payouts processed on July 5th. They process them twice a month, on the 15th and on the 5th, right? Look at all these payouts just from July 5th. Again, still on July 5th. Look at this one, 15K, 2,900, 1,000, 2,000, 800, 2,500. You know, still on July 5th. You can see Missouri, Illinois, India, you know, Colombia, USA. We got New Jersey, France, Germany, Mexico, Canada, or California. Like, again, still on July 5th. So people acting like they don't pay out because they rejected some payouts who broke rules. Like, that's just creating fear, I think. But again, they're an affiliate of mine. I don't know what they're doing. Like, maybe they're doing. Again, I think I like Apex. They've always been pretty reliable to me. Any brave little toaster predictions? The biggest prediction I have is that Toy Story stole Brave Little Toaster's idea and ran with it. And how dare them? Brave Little Toaster fan club for life. Okay. I gotta watch the Brave Little Toaster. It's been years. I always thought it was kind of sad in hindsight. Oh, Israel? Yeah. Sorry. You take on SoFi long term. I'm in SoFi right now. I'm pretty sure. Let me see. Yeah, I'm in SoFi. I'm down on it, but I'm pretty much flat. Average price is 740s. You know, I'm down a little bit. Not a huge position. Right. I got multiple payouts from Apex. As long as you don't DCA into a losing position, you should be good. Yeah, right, for sure. Again, the problem is people try to game the system, and then when they get rejected their payout, they cry and cry about it. In the end, they got to read the rules. Last time you were right on the dot with 0%, and predictions this time, I'm going to go with 0.1 this time, hidden in the wires. If I get this one right, I'm making a freaking video about it. Yeah. Yeah, most of the power's back. I mean, we have a generator here. So, like, we were one of those people who, even though the power was out, we had a generator. So, like, we were fine regardless, right? But our power's back on anyway. But, yeah. I wonder if I could write the generator off. Maybe. Most of Houston did. Yeah, I'm looking at a center point here. Wish they would let me. There we go. A lot of people still down though, to be honest. I'm trying to see where I am. Yeah, center point looks like it's one of the worst ones, though. They're just not really doing much. I thought Houston got power back yesterday. Some of us did. But again, not everybody. Again, Tesla started to bounce all the way back up to 260s here. Nvidia down to 135s. Most people are waiting on inflation data. I'm probably going to go ahead and day trade some of this too. Let me see. Where's the SPY at? See, SPY volume is very, very, very light. I might buy this dip in the SPY. I'll go with 100 shares. All right, we're at 100 shares of the SPY after this little dip. We'll see if we bounce back some. Small little trade. We'll see what we get. I'm also going to trade on futures. And again, if you want to trade with me on Apex, I'll put the link up. Apex is a funded program. They give you a demo. They test your skill with a demo account. If you can pass the test with a demo, they fund you. Between 25K up to 300K with a 90% split. And again, for the time being, you can get the 150, 250, and 300K challenges for the same price, around 35 to 40 bucks if you use my coupon code and link. Around 35 to 40 bucks if you use my coupon code and link. Very cheap. It's the best of both worlds as well. Like if you lose, you're only out $35-40 a month. If you pass it, you get tons of funding with a 90% split, and they pay out millions. They paid out over 200 million in futures. If you look at their website, again, they've paid out hundreds of millions of dollars to their traders. They fund thousands of traders. They've paid out over $229 million since 2022. Great way to learn how to day trade with limited risk. And in the futures market, you can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, currencies, gold. I don't know if you can trade currencies on Apex, but you can trade gold, commodities. Patterns are very similar to blue chip stocks, and like the SPY patterns in the S&P and the NASDAQ is basically the QQQ price action. So you can basically day trade the SPY and Q price. In futures, very similar to day trading like Apple or NVIDIA. There's just no PDT rule. Most pro day traders actually trade futures as well. So again, if you want to check them out, here's the link. Use coupon code BT. They are a sponsor of mine. They pay me money. I'm biased because they pay me money. I can't guarantee anything. You want to check with them first. They're an affiliate of mine. And so, yeah, trade at your own risk. Again, they're an affiliate of mine. They pay me money. I'm biased because of it. I do trade off stream. You're not going to see all my trades. I'm not even claiming to be a profitable trader. And so good luck. I think it's just a good way to learn how to day trade with limited risk, right? Like your risk is limited. If you lose, you're only out what you pay for it. But if you pass it, you get funding and teaches you how to trade under pressure. And I think if you were going to pay for a demo account with real-time data, it's going to cost about the same amount. So I think you're getting a deal regardless, which is what a lot of people don't mention when they're trying to be critical, is that you're getting a deal regardless. DCAing into swing trades is a major strategy of mine. Yeah, but this is day trading. Day trading into swing trades makes sense. Day trading or DCAing into swing trades makes sense. DCAing into day trades, is risky, and Yeah, I don't know about that. W, no idea, bro. I don't know about that one, man. Yeah, we got a lot of choppiness in the NASDAQ heading into this report. All right, we got over 600 people here. We still got 45 minutes left. Dude, so it's Thursday. How did the Centerport still not have people's power back on, dude? Like, how does they still not have people's power back on? That's crazy. It's bad. The other thing about Centerpoint is this, right? So Centerpoint, Centerpoint has this on their site. Am I missing something here? I feel like they're just like. So I got a question, okay? Somebody help me out with this question. All right. Centerpoint says customers affected was 1,094,000, right? Customers restored since Beryl is higher than the overall customers affected by it. So if they're not fluffing their numbers, tell me how they got to this point. How are the customers restored? Like, they fixed almost 1,200 or almost 1.2 mil customers, yet there was less than 1.1 million actually affected. If they're not fluffing their numbers, somebody please tell me how they got to this point. Genuine question. How in the world do they have more customers restored, then we're ultimately affected according to them. It seems like they're just fluffing numbers up to try to see better. All right, so we see the SPY pull back a little bit here. Yeah, there's a new graffiti that says center pointless up. So there's a new graffiti that says center pointless up. Okay, we're gonna keep adding down here. I'm basically betting that we're gonna get choppiness. We'll go ahead and put in 200 shares of the SPY. I'll let you guys watch this little trade. We're at the bottom of the range. CPI shows up in 40 minutes. We're just going to look for a bounce. You always have a good guess on CPI. What is your guess on CPI today? Mine's 0.1% as expected, maybe 0.2. But again, I might be wrong. Straight up guess, no idea. Again, I've been very accurate with it, but again, I think I've just been getting lucky. Yeah, Trade Evade has had less problems for sure, Blaze. Definitely less problems. Oh man, I'm ready. I'm glad to be home, man. I really am. Nvidia thoughts. Nvidia's up a lot over the last few days. A lot of people are watching for it to break 140s. It's at 135s. Pretty close. We're in it right now. We've been riding it up for a while. Fuel prices have increased a lot. Yeah, macroeconomic uncertainty. Oil's been up. Oil's at the top of the range. Oil's been flat since April. Hey, what's up, V? Always nice to come home after a trip. Yeah, man, I was just ready to get home. I love my in-laws, but I need a break from them. What do you think about hydrogen? I don't know, man. I think a lot of people are talking about hydrogen as the next big competition to EVs, but it's certainly pretty early, and we don't know for sure what it's going to do or how strong it's going to be. All right, so we're going to add another 50 shares to this. Again, we're at the very bottom of the range, so I don't mind adding some to this position. Why is Apex denying everybody's payouts unjustly? I mean, they're not though, Don. Like people, like look. Again, I showed people this earlier, right? Again, I don't know. They're just an affiliate of mine, so I don't know for sure. But like you can see people's payouts, like on the ApexTraderFunding.com/payouts. These are from July 9th. These are all from July 5th. Like look at these payouts. So they're not going to approve everything. If somebody breaks rules, you know, I'm sure the people who like want their payouts to get approved are upset if they didn't get approved. But if you add to a losing trade more than once, you're breaking a rule on Apex, right? Like you can't just keep adding to a losing position and build up like a crazy amount of profit from basically using the martingale strategy. And then like look, 34,000, 30,000, you know, and this is all from July 5th. Again, they process payouts twice a month, early July, which is this, and mid-July, which is the 15th. These are all from the 5th still. So they're paying people out. They might not be paying everybody out because other people break rules, and I'm sure those people might be kind of loud about it. But, you know, I don't know. I think acting like they're just rejecting all payouts or something like that is silly, man. Of course they're not. Most people here say they never got denied a payout at all. And so if you follow the rules, you know, you should be fine. Your typing skills are sick. Apex, I've never had a problem, and I know 80 people who haven't had one either. Yeah, again, people that are getting rejected probably are used to just adding to a bunch of losing trades, and now they're upset about it. Again, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. They're an affiliate of mine, so of course I have bias. But yeah. CPI comes out at 8:30 Eastern time. It might be right below me in big bold letters. It could be. Not saying it is, but it might be. Pfizer. Yeah, Pfizer did have a pump. What is Pfizer up on? I was thinking about buying Pfizer recently because it's down a lot too. But it's not, percentage-wise, it's not a big mover. I mean, I guess so. It's down almost 50% since 2022. Is it time to buy the dip in Pfizer? I guess so. I'm going to try buying up a little bit. I'm in it right now. I'm green. Or I'm not green. I'm actually red. All right, so we just added to Pfizer some. I got my first approval this on the 15th, and I follow the rules. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Don, man, I never heard back from you, you know. Maybe I'm biased. Yeah, I mean, maybe I am biased. I certainly could be. Yeah, I saw their video. Already, Don. You know, I did see their video. Yeah, most of the criticism has to do with how they responded in their Discord, like their Discord responses. Again, we'll have to wait and see. But I think they deactivated their Discord completely now, and they said they're going to do better. They said they just need to hire people for their Discord. So they might be fixing that too. I don't know. But yeah, we ended up adding a little bit to Pfizer. If CPI is higher than actual, it means SPY tanks. Not always. It's not always like it's not always perfect correlation, but generally yes. If CPI is high, which it means inflation is high. If CPI is low, it means there's less inflation, and market generally likes less inflation, but it's never for sure. Right now, we're in a period of time in which the economy is getting pushed down a little bit by the Fed because the Fed is keeping interest rates up. The Fed's bringing interest rates higher, and they're doing this to try to push the economy down to combat inflation. You know, and that's kind of been working. We've seen inflation dip. If we look at like a CPI inflation graph over the past, 20 years. You can kind of see here's CPI inflation. Again, in 2020, the Fed stepped in and they brought interest rates down to almost zero. The consequence of this was a spike to inflation, right? Inflation spiked up to almost 10%. And then the Fed stepped in and they raised the federal funds rate. They raised interest rates to consumers, and they did this to try to, combat the inflation spikes that we've gotten. So they raised rates, tried to push spending down to combat inflation, and it worked to a certain extent. Inflation dropped all the way down to where it's at now, which is about 3.1, 3.2. And so inflation is what they've been battling now. And the economy has been slowing down because of it. The Fed raises their rates aggressively so that they can try to control spending, right? So they can kind of slow spending down, combat inflation. But it doesn't always work perfectly, but that's kind of where we're at now, where the Fed's been doing QT. They've been doing tightening to try to, if you don't know what QT is, QT means they're reducing their balance sheet. This forces banks to put interest rates higher and combat inflation. And so that's kind of what the Fed's been doing, is they've been taking what's called a hawkish approach, which means a contractionary monetary policy approach, meaning they're trying to keep interest rates high to control inflation. A dovish look would be the Fed is trying to bring interest rates down, be less restrictive on interest rates in order to stimulate spending. And that's what they did in like 2020 and 2008 to try to save us from economic weakness. But the consequence of bringing interest rates that low is, again, inflation spikes. So that's kind of where we're at now. Is this related to yesterday's Powell confession? What confession? Yeah, I'm taking a month-long break from Chart Prime. I declined their next contract, but again, great company. I like Chart Prime. I think their indicators are really nice. I'm just kind of, I'm working on something else in the background. So, and again, I might go back to them. I still think Chart Prime's a great company, but just for now, I'm taking a month-long break. Thoughts on Reddit? Go down. We got about 900 people here live chat. I'm going to put it in sub-only mode. So we put it in sub-only mode. Slap that like button, hit that subscribe button, show us your support if we appreciate it. Great synopsis of inflation reactions by the Fed. Thanks, John. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, we try to help people. Again, I think when people start to understand that, they start to really understand what's going on, right? If you understand the correlations between like Fed decisions, why they're doing what they're doing, why the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell make certain decisions regarding the economy and interest rates. Once you start to understand that, everything else becomes much more clear in understanding economics and the Federal Reserve, right? So once you understand that the Fed controls the economy in two different ways, by increasing interest rates or by decreasing interest rates, and they do that in a number of different ways. But if the economy is too strong and inflation's a problem, they will raise interest rates. If the economy is too loose or is too low and too much weakness has occurred and too little spending has occurred, the Fed will cut interest rates and bring interest rates down. And so once you understand that specific dynamic, it becomes easier to understand everything and watch everything else. I don't think we should cut rates. I think we should wait as long as possible before cutting rates. So I think we should keep rates as high as possible for as long as possible to control inflation, because inflation can snowball and get worse fast. And so if we are not careful, inflation can get really, really bad really, really fast. And people are mostly upset right now because of high prices. And so I think if people are upset now, they're really going to be upset if prices spike again. Here, got you. Let me pull Discord up. All right, so MicroStrategy announced a 10-to-1 split. MicroStrategy announced a 10-to-1 split. 10 for 1. The stock split will be affected by means of stock dividends to the holders of record of MicroStrategy's Class A. It's going to close the beginning of day August 1st. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Creative said it is weird to me that anyone would not understand rate hikes and how that works. Yeah, but I mean, the way you just said it, so there's a difference between rate hikes, which means raising the federal funds rate, and rate decisions in general, which is what I just explained, right? So rate hikes means raising the federal funds rate. Rate cut would mean lowering the federal funds rate. Rate decisions are what both of those things are, which are kind of what I was just explaining, So there's a difference between, I guess, a rate hike and a rate decision. Rate hikes means raising specifically the federal funds rate, which is raising short-term interest rates. Eventually, it trickles into long-term. Are you typing with a motor? Yeah, I mean, I've had people accuse me of just hitting buttons, but I can do a typing test. Again, I'm kind of torn on this, We'll try. Some of these, they do really good. Yes, yeah. Yeah, see, it's hard for me to type. It's harder for me to type when I have to read something else. Yeah, so it's harder for me to type whenever I have to read from something else. Like if it's coming from my head, I can.
Working with Adobe Acrobat AI Assistant, I'm creating a business of.
The fastest that it's harder for me when I'm typing, reading from something else. If I could type reading from, if I could type it from my own head, I can type much faster. So this was 81 words a minute. You can see my best it would have been 90, it would have been 86, but you can see my best was 93 words a minute, almost 100 words per minute. But on a good test, I've gotten like 105 on a different one, right? So it depends on what I'm typing, essentially. But yeah, sometimes I can type fast. What made you buy Pfizer? Because it's down so much over the last year straight, and it's probably kind of strong. And it looks like that was the good move too, because it's up. So yeah, I usually like buying up stuff that is down big that I think are healthy companies. So I bought Pfizer a couple minutes ago. When I look at Pfizer over the last year, it's down. When I look over it on a weekly chart, it's down a ton since 2022. So I mean, I just think maybe there's some value there. But again, it's not a huge position. We'll see what happens. Tesla's still pushing up. We got 21 minutes left. I am going to cut this SPY trade before then. I'm not going to get caught in this position when CPI drops. It's just too much risk there. Right, I'm always typing faster. I could probably get up to like 110, 115 words per minute. If I'm typing from my head, like I said, if I'm typing to UPawn out of something that's coming out of my head, then it's going to be much faster than like reading words on a screen, you know. So like I guess the point is when people at home hear me type to like Pawn or Discord or wherever, that's coming from my own head. I'm going to type that much faster than I'm going to type reading something else off of a page like I just did. Anyways, did you add more to Nike? I haven't in a few days, but I'm in Nike. I like Nike too. I think over time it'll probably bounce, but I might be wrong. Who knows? All right, guys, we got 20 minutes. Look at Tesla going green on the day. Tesla at 260s. I am in Tesla right now, so I am in Tesla. I know I short also. Well, we trade a little bit of everything, so we trade long and short, red and green. So, yeah. Too much air in Nike. The market opens up at 9:30 here. Well, it depends on how you look at it. So right now we're in what's called pre-market. Pre-market is extended hours in which we can have limited trading, but we can still trade, see price action. The reason there's a pre-market is because that's when news typically comes out in pre-market, right? So news typically drops in pre-market. So that's kind of what we're doing now. So typically news comes out in pre. And so a lot of the time you'll see big news stories drop in pre-market or earnings drop in pre-market and after hours and stuff like that, because that's the main difference is that you can't use market orders. It's the reason there is an extended hours trading is because that's when news comes out. Earnings, news, stuff like that usually drop in either pre-market or after hours. Walgreens is showing signs of a bottom. I don't know. I've been in Walgreens. I sold it recently just because I don't trust it. Maybe it was a bad move, but every time I go to Walgreens, I have a bad experience. You know, I genuinely do. Every time I go to Walgreens, you know, the pharmacists almost get mad at you because they're so stressed about their work. They'll be like, hey, come back in 20 minutes. You'll show back up in 20 minutes. And they're like, what are you doing here? It's going to be another hour, you know, and it's just like, what? Like terrible customer experience for Walgreens. And I think most people are finding it's easier to just have their prescriptions sent to you online. I think that's easier. You have early access? No, I don't. I mean, all of US can trade in pre-market, Dave. Yeah, all of the United States can trade in pre, for the most part. As long as you have a US regulated broker, you can see pre-market. It's not early access. It's something that everybody here has. Look at Tesla rise. Amazon Pharmacy is awesome. Miami same day. Yeah, and I think stuff like that's going to get bigger and bigger, you know. Do you think Tesla Robotaxi event will be a sell the news event? I'm worried it will be, Danny. I don't know for sure, but I'm worried it's going to be. Yeah, I did see the MicroStrategy split announcement. So yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be. I'm worried it will be. So I'm nervous about it. I'm probably gonna go ahead and sell this SPY position we got. We were looking to trade CHOP, but it's getting a little bit too close to CPI for my tastes here. You know, SPY also had a very green day yesterday too, and so I'm gonna cut this. I might be right about the position, but we are day trading here in futures on Apex. So we're up about $100. I'm gonna take half off there. And again, at least we day traded this on our funded account. At least we're making something here, you know. We'll go ahead and cut the rest, lock that profit in. CPI up or down? I don't know. I'm going with slightly. I'm going with as expected. It depends on how you look at it, though. It is an election year, and they do want the economy to be strong right now. And so the only worry that I have is that it's not a worry. I think the Fed might want inflation to cool, and so they might want it to come in lower, and so we could have it lower than expected as well. I just don't know for sure. All right, so Nvidia just cracked lows. Nvidia now technically red on the day here. All right, guys. Again, CPI drops at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll see what happens. Again, SPY is slightly down. We can put gold up as well. There's Tesla, Nvidia. Yeah, here's gold. A lot of people are speculating on what gold might do throughout all this. So gold pretty flat this morning. Again, you can see Nvidia falling. There's the SPY. SPY is down to 560s. $15 minutes. Remember, we have PPI inflation data tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see Hayes. Down to 560s. Yeah, well, what I mean by that is earlier today, SPY was at 561s, high 560 plus, and now it's down to 560. It was at 561.50 at the peak early this morning. It's now fallen most of pre-market down. It's still green over the last few days. SPY had a very strong day yesterday. Look at Nvidia fall though. Yeah, the volume's light, definitely. Volume's still very light, for sure. Yeah, it's inflation data. Yeah, I remember when SPY broke 400, people were talking about how extended it was. Yeah, I remember when the SPY broke 400s over a year ago, people were saying how extended it was on the upside. Now it broke 500, it's almost up to 600. Again, it kind of goes to the point, like I've been saying this for years, if you're not investing into index funds, blue chip stocks, and you're overly short, you're always trying to call the top, you're always trying to pick the next big short position, you are missing out on one of the single biggest edges the market ever gives you. Long term, the market's going to go up. And so if you're not investing into index funds, riding that upward movement, again, you're taking one of the biggest sucker positions you could ever take in the stock market. So be smart, understand what the edge is, and I'm not telling you what to do. Don't copy me, not an investment professional, but still, be smart, guys. Do y'all like this 4-chart stream? I think Apple is down also. Yeah, but Apple flew up yesterday, though. So Apple had a crazy run. So Apple broke lifetime highs yesterday, I believe, right? Yeah, so Apple got up to 233s almost. Or over 233s at the close yesterday. So Apple's down a little bit, but it's not a shock, I guess is the point. Yeah, I'm in GameStop. Where's GameStop at this morning, by the way? But yeah, I'm in it right now. I've been in it. We're green on it. GameStop's fading a little bit since its highs yesterday, but it's still doing all right. I think Palantir. Yeah, Palantir's been very strong the last couple days too. Palantir hit 2850s. We added to that yesterday, I believe, is where we added to Palantir. Soundhound. Yeah, market's flushing. Look at Nvidia start to bounce. It looks like it was a good thing I got out of that short position or that long position on the SPY. All right, guys, we got 1,500 people here live. Are you guys bullish or bearish? Let's look at our poll here. We did a poll earlier. So 46% think higher than expected for CPI, 43% think lower. Let's see what Nvidia does. Nvidia's dropped a little bit, but again, everything's kind of cooling after yesterday. Yesterday we had very strong momentum everywhere, basically. Palantir moving up some. Can someone stop Nvidia from being dumb? What do you mean by dumb, Mika? Again, Nvidia, people act like Nvidia is just so crazy extended on the upside. But how much Nvidia earns versus it did last year? Nvidia is basically has a very similar ratio of EPS, a very similar PE ratio that it did, 2 years ago. So Nvidia basically started earning more, and that's why Nvidia's been rising. It's not like Nvidia's rising and the amount Nvidia earns stays the same, which would be a better argument for extension on Nvidia. It's actually the opposite, where Nvidia actually earns more now per share than it did 2 years ago. So Nvidia's earning more now per share than it did 2 years ago, and that's a very strong thing. Now, whether Nvidia is going to continue moving up is a completely different story. I don't know, but yeah, I don't think we can look at Nvidia like it's weak, or like Nvidia is just not earning that much relative to its share price. All right, guys, inflation data drops very soon, chat, very soon. Market's starting to rise. We got 7 minutes left or so. I don't really have any estimates. Like, I don't know what inflation data is going to show up as. I'm guessing 0.1%, which is as expected, maybe 0.2%, so slightly higher than expected. But again, I really don't know for sure. Just straight up guessing here. The company who makes the fastest computers in the world in 2024 is making the most money in 2024. Call me surprised. Yeah. All right, guys. Get ready here. What 3 charts? I got to get rid of a chart. I got Tesla, Nvidia, SPY, and gold up. I'm going to put up 3 charts here, which is the SPY, gold. Tesla slightly green, though. It's helping the market. I'm going to put gold up on the left. So here's gold. Here's Nvidia. Here's the SPY. That's my charts for now. You a Texans fan, John? Nah. Texans are not good. I'm a Saints fan. Astros fan. Oh, you talking about, it depends on which Texans. If you said the Rangers, I'm a fan of the Rangers. I'm a fan of the Saints. I'm a fan of the Astros. I'm a fan of LSU. Am I a fan of the Houston Texans football team? No, not at all. They're just not good. All right, guys, CPI data comes in about 7 minutes, chat. 6 minutes, really. You a Cowboys fan? No, not a Cowboys fan either. Boo, Cowboys. All right, guys, here we go. We got about 5 minutes left. CPI inflation data drops in 5 minutes, chat. 5 minutes. We'll see what we get. Gold is mostly flat this morning. Nvidia is bouncing up some. I'm going to put the Q and the SPY in the middle. Here's the Q. We'll put Nvidia up. Again, we got 5 minutes, chat. 5 minutes. Tomorrow we have PPI inflation data. I like the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. I think the Eagles and Jalen are nice. I like Jalen. Texans were in the playoffs last year. Yeah, but they're doing better than my Saints. Maybe I'm just mad about it. Anyways, chat, we got a couple minutes left. We got 2,000 people here live watching. Again, give me your last minute predictions. What do you think the data shows up as, chat? Good, bad, high, low? What do you think? We got 2,100 people here, still growing. Who dat? Yes, sir. All right, guys, here we go. 4 minutes. The Q has bounced all the way back up. Nvidia has bounced all the way back up with us. We got 3 minutes left, chat. 3 minutes left. Give me your last minute predictions. What does month over month inflation show up as this month? I'm going to go with 0.1%. 0.1% is my guess. Maybe 0.2%. 0.1 to 0.2% is what I'm guessing at. All right, here we go. Q is bouncing back up, basically flat on the day. Nvidia is at 134.60s. All right, guys, 3 minutes. CPI inflation data dropping soon, chat. Be ready. Expectations, as you can see, for today. We also have jobless claims expected at 236,000. 236,000 for jobless claims versus last time we showed up at 238. They're expecting 236. CPI expected at 0.2% for core. Base CPI expected at 0.1%. Core CPI year over year is expected at 3.4%. Regular CPI year over year is expected at 3.1%. And so again, we'll see what happens, chat. There's the Q moving up. This timer is a little bit early, so we actually have to fix this timer. So we're actually just going to get rid of this. It's a little bit early. 2 minutes, chat. 2 minutes. Where can I watch the live stream of Jerome Powell? There is no live stream of Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell was yesterday and the day before. All right, guys. CPI inflation. All right, guys, we got a minute and a half left here. A minute and a half left. Here we go. I'll put a timer up for a minute here. I'll put a timer up for a minute when we get it. We got about a minute left, right? Hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you're fully caught up on stream. Look at the Q continuing to bounce here. Continuing to bounce. And here we go. 1 minute left, chat. 1 minute left. Where can I watch the live stream of CPI data? Right here, of course. You mean you're in the stream titled CPI inflation data, and you're asking us where you can find the CPI inflation data? We got 40 seconds left, chat. 40 seconds. Again, expectations are 3.1% for year over year. Core is expected at 3.4%. Month over month, we're expected at 0.1, and that's my guess is 0.1, maybe 0.2 month over month. 25 seconds left, chat. Here we go. 15 seconds. All right, here we go. 5 seconds left. Chat, 5 seconds. And there we go. CPI data showed up at... Market flew up right now, guys. Market flew up. CPI data showed up at minus 0.1% month over month. Minus 0.1% month to month. Year over year showed up at 3%. Core year over year showed up at 3.4%. Way lower inflation data than anybody expected. Much better inflation data. What this signals is more, I would assume a rate cut's coming at least in September, maybe next month. Gold is flying up. And again, this is exactly what I told somebody earlier. Somebody earlier said gold would go down on lower inflation data, and if inflation data came in high, gold would go up. It was the opposite. Inflation data came in at minus 0.1%. Chat, minus 0.1%. Jobless claims showed up lower than expected as well, signaling more economic growth, less inflation. Much better data than expected. Again, CPI showed up at minus 0.1% versus 0.1%. Year over year, it showed up at 3% versus 3.1%. Core showed up lower than expected as well, which is kind of a shock, guys. Wow. Again, much lower than expected inflation data here. Much lower than expected. Again, jobless claims showed up lower than expected as well. We'll put the year over year data release here. It's at 3%. Crazy. Lower than expected inflation data. Guys, jobless claims showed up lower as well. Nvidia's spiking up. The Q is spiking up. Everything's spiking up here. We're very green on the day all of a sudden. You love to see it. You love to see it. Home Depot flying up as well. We added some to Home Depot. Intel very green today as well here, chat. What do you guys think? Will this hold? Guys, will this hold? Market flew up. Look at the market fly here, chat. Wow, gold up to 2400s. Q up to 504s. Nvidia spiking up as well. Maybe it'll get to 140 here. Crazy. Honestly, guys, crazy. And again, if you haven't already, check out Apex. If you want to learn to day trade some of this price action, go to Apex. Apex is a great way to learn how to day trade. Most day traders lose, and so if you try to put up your own money, you're probably going to lose. Any real day trader will tell you that. Apex, they give you a demo and they test your skill. And if you pass the test, they fund you. If you don't pass the test, you only lose what you pay for it, so it limits your risk. This base one right here is 30 or 35 bucks a month. If you use my link and coupon code, it comes with real-time data as well, which generally, if you buy a demo account with real-time data, it's going to cost more than that. They're going to give you a 25K demo. If you can make $1,500 in profit without losing $1,500 first and following their rules and conditions, they fund you $25K with a 90% split. But if you lose it, you're out 35 bucks. So it's the limited risk, tons of funding if you're good enough to pass it. Great way to learn how to day trade and learn how to trade under pressure, but limited risk, and that's the massive benefit of these funded account programs. Again, for the time being, if you use my coupon code, you can also get the 150, 250, and 300K challenges, where you get 150K, 250K, or 300K in funding for 35 to 40 bucks a month. Great way to learn how to day trade. You can also reset any of them for 35 bucks. And again, Apex is one of the most legit in the world. They've paid out hundreds of millions of dollars to their trader, over $200 million to their trader since 2022. Again, they are a sponsor. They pay me money, so of course I'm biased because they pay me money. Understand CFTC 4.41 hypothetical or simulated performance have limitations. They do pay me money. I'm biased because of it. I'm not even claiming to be a good trader. But if you want to check them out, use coupon code BT. We'll get you the max discount at all times. Check it out. All right, guys, market's flying up. Gold up to 2,400. Look at Nvidia hitting 137s. Again, on lower inflation data. Jobless claims numbers showed up lower than expected as well. Somebody's asking me about jobless claims. Jobless claims showed up at, where'd they go? Jobless claims showed up at 222 versus 236. Way lower than expected, showing more economic growth in that front as well. I think starting with a 150, 300K account is a horrible. 25 to 50 is perfect. Yeah, I usually like 25K to 50K accounts as well. John, can you do Apex on your phone? Do they have an app? Trade-Evade, I'm pretty sure you can. I'm not sure if Ninja Trader has an app, but I think you can use your phone on Trade-Evade. But I might be wrong there too. Palantir ripping up also here, guys. Wow, GameStop spiked up some too. What else did I add to? I added to Pfizer. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, wow, I'm very green on the day. MU, we're in MU as well. We're also green at Home Depot. We're also green at Nvidia, spiking up. We're also green in snow. We added to snow the other day. Nicely green there. Soundtown spiked up a little bit today. We would have been up more than this too if it wasn't for Scooby-Doo and those pesky kids. But no, we would have been up more today. Yeah, so tomorrow's the other side of that. So tomorrow we have PPI, Producer Price Index inflation data. So we do have PPI data tomorrow. Now the market's starting to pull back a little bit. I don't know whether I should take some profit on some of these. I see I'm up in MU. I'll take a little bit off of MU here. I don't know, man. Maybe I'll let MU hold. Yeah, I think I'll sit in it, actually. What do you guys think? Should I sell MU? There's the Q starting to pull back a little bit, which is interesting because what this could signal is a rate cut, right? Like, okay, so the Fed will generally cut rates if inflation isn't a concern anymore, right? And what this data shows up is that inflation is better. We are at 3% right now, 3%. The real question is this good enough to cut rates next or at the end of this month in July? You know, in July, we have the next FOMC meeting at the very end of this month, right? Is this good enough to cut rates? Yeah, creative, man. You're getting to a point where you're just kind of blindly disagreeing about everything I say. So Pawn and I already talked about it in the background. It's all good, but you seem to be just kind of disagreeing with everything I say. And if you do, again, just friendly, like you're not gonna last super long here, brother. You know. I said 222,000 claims is good because they expected 236,000 unemployment claims. And so 222,000 claims is signaling more economic growth. And again, this is coming from somebody that basically said the market was, I thought we would come in higher than expected for CPI data, if you guys remember. So this is one of the ones I was wrong at. All right, so Chewy looking good as well. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Chewy. We'll see what happens. This pre-market already made more than my 9 to 5 job. Yeah, market's flying up right now. It looks great. Honestly, genuinely looks good. We'll see if it holds. But market's looking great. Gold is up a lot. Chewy is moving up too. We're in Chewy also. So yeah, we'll see if we get some good stuff here. I'm waiting for it. All right, so look at Nvidia still surging up at 137s. The Q up to 504.70s. Gold still at 2400s. Hey, good luck. It's all a game. $1,200 for the day done. Hey, good job. It seems like Powell wants to see signs of disinflation. Yeah, so again, the question is, this might signal more potential rate cuts coming soon. Good inflation data is always good, right? So regardless of what the market wants, lower inflation data is almost always good. Again, remember, we had somebody earlier saying that gold would react negatively if inflation data came in low. And the argument that they had was because it's a inflation hedge, right? So the higher prices are, the more people are going to gravitate towards gold. What I told them at the time earlier this morning was that generally gold moves in a macro sense to the market. And so that would actually signal the opposite correlation, which is that if inflation data came in low, the gold's going to push up. The stock market itself, like the Q and Nvidia, are going to move up, and vice versa, because again, gold follows the macro markets, and that's kind of what we see here, is gold following the macro markets. It's not necessarily like we don't know for sure whether it's going to hold or not, but it could. It could. I don't know what I want to do with Home Depot. I'm also in Intel. Palantir moving up some too. Snowflake certainly moving up some also. We added some to Snowflake earlier. JP said job numbers is key indicator for rates, but this isn't the US. Okay, let's look at what the actual odds are for a rate cut here. All right, so the odds for a rate cut, looking at this objectively, using the CME watch tool, are as follows here. So right now, most people are expecting this month we're still going to pause. So nobody really expecting cuts, 6.7%. We can refresh this again just to make sure this is the correct numbers here. But so far, most people are not expecting a cut this month. September, on the other hand, that's when everybody's expecting a cut. So not this next Fed meeting. And, we got another Fed meeting in about 20 days. In 20 days, we have another Fed meeting. Nobody's expecting a cut then. Most people are expecting another Fed cut, or the first Fed cut, to be in September in about 2 months. So we got about 2 months for another Fed cut potential here is what people are thinking. And we'll see if these probabilities change leading into it, right? So we'll see if they change. Gold up to 2410s for gold. If we get rate cuts and the market shoots up, how does that help inflation? I don't think the market's going to go up with rate cuts. I think generally the market might go down. But it is an election year, and so I think there's more pressure for them to cut rates. It doesn't matter what the odds are if they don't want to cut. They won't. The polls are stupid. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you really pay attention. Do not block. Because, again, I think realistically, I think if you look, I've covered every major FOMC decision over the past years, both with rate pauses, both with rate hikes, as well as like potential rate cuts moving forward. The CME watch tool has been correct every single time. And so to say that this isn't a useful gauge of what they're going to do is silly. This has been correct in terms of the probabilities every single time for years. So yes, it's very important to pay attention to this because this is wildly correct most of the time. Again, I'm not saying it's never going to be wrong. What I'm saying is that it's a good gauge on what they might potentially do, and acting like it's just random is silly because it's not. Hey, all good, Blob. And again, I think a lot of people, I think people wildly overpredict market crashes. I think no matter whether inflation data comes in high, people are going to say, oh, inflation's high, it's the end of the world. Or low, people are going to say the economy is weak, it's the end of the world. Some people, especially people that really watch the news or, are really kind of burned with the system, I guess is the easier way to put it. People that are really scorned with the system, they're going to call for market crashes and pullbacks. And again, typically, a lot of people missed out on the big runs that we had in 2023. Like they missed out on the 24% the S&P gave us in 2023. And so they are more prone to predict crashes because it's kind of, again, confirmation bias. They want the market to come down because they missed out on the gains. In the end, though, crashes are very hard to predict. Ask Michael Burry. He's been wildly wrong about most crash predictions he's made over the past 20 years. He was right about 2008. He's been wrong ever since. And again, crashes generally only happen every 5 to 10 years. Maybe every 10 years. And if we look at kind of how the market has behaved just over the past few years, right? So we had a little micro correction here in 2023. We had a bigger correction in 2021 where a lot of people are going to call this a bear market or a crash here in 2021. We had another little crash here in 2020. We had another little crash in 2018. And the market's not always going to crash, right? Now, it might pull back, it might come down, it might go up, but it doesn't always have to crash. And again, I think right now the economy has been pretty strong. Inflation is getting better. The only thing people are really upset about now are interest rates being high, and that mostly is restricted to like real estate professionals, lenders, mortgage brokers, real estate agents, and maybe first-time home buyers. But again, it's not always the best time to buy a home. Real estate is up a ridiculous amount. So I guess the point is, I've seen people predict crashes every single year for 5+ years straight. And again, generally they're wrong. Generally they're wrong. Yeah, it's CME Watch tool. Just use Google, type it in. Well, yeah, eventually we're gonna get a pullback. Like, corrections are necessary. I think it's time for a pullback right now too. But there's a difference between like a correction and a crash. Again, it's kind of the same thing where people act like Nvidia is hyperextended on the upside, and maybe it is, right? But again, Nvidia has a better PE ratio now than it did a year and a half ago, which means how much Nvidia makes versus its share price is better now. Like, the ratio of that is better now than it was 2 years ago when it was way less. So, a lot of people are acting like Nvidia is just hyperextended on the upside. And maybe it is. Again, I don't know. But it's earning a lot more now than it was 2 years ago is the point. So we'll see if that continues as well. I don't know. Here's the cue. I think a lot of traders want to be that contrarian that bets on the market crash, especially if you watch the news. Like right now, again, I'm very neutral politically, but one side wants to make you think it's the worst it could ever be right now, right? And that's where you see a lot of bias present itself in chat. They're acting like it's the worst it could ever freaking be right now because it's an election year, right? And that's their job, is to make you think the other side is doing bad, right? And then the other side is going to try to make you think it's the greatest it's ever been. Everything's fine. It's the greatest of all time ever. Top 3 for sure. The truth is usually somewhere in the middle, right? But if you get really influenced by that bias of like, hey, it's the end of the world, it's the end of the world, that's where a lot of people show up in chat saying, hey, things are terrible or whatever. The real reason most people are unhappy, again, I say this every day, multiple times a day, but the real reason people are unhappy is prices. Prices are up a lot, and prices don't go back down. Yeah, we got earnings season coming out too. Yeah. I'll talk to you in January. Listen, I'm not saying we shouldn't correct. Things are up too much for me to really want to buy things as well, right? Like, things are up too much for me to really. It's not like I'm adding to my portfolio here, guys. I'm just not. I don't trust it enough. Certainly don't trust it enough to add to my portfolio like that. But it also doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have some parabolic crash and it's the end of the world scenario. It just, again, people are too polarized. People are way too polarized. And people have to understand that, like, the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. Yeah. People have to understand truth is usually somewhere in the middle. Earnings season is coming out too, which is going to be a big time. So earnings season drops. Let's see when. I think Tesla earnings are going to spark it off. Let me see when everything drops. Tomorrow we have bank earnings and PPI data. So tomorrow we have JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, Bank of New York, Fastenal. This will be a good gauge on the economy. Next week we got some stuff too. Let me see. Monday we got Goldman Sachs. Tuesday we got Bank of America, United Health, Progressive, Morgan Stanley, Interactive Brokers Tuesday evening. Wednesday we got ASML, Johnson & Johnson, United Airlines, Taiwan Semiconductors, Netflix drops Thursday next week. I'm trying to see when Tesla is. Amex. The big week is not going to be next week. It's going to be the week after, though. So that's when we have GE, UPS, Spotify, GM, Coca-Cola, Lockheed Martin, Comcast, Tesla Tuesday, the 23rd. Wednesday. I just hope they don't do them all same day like they have before. Yeah, I'm trying to see when all these big earnings are coming out. It's weird. I'm trying to see when Apple drops. McDonald's the Monday after. SoFi. All right, so Meta on Wednesday, July 31st. August, we get some stuff dropping too. Apple drops August, so it's Snapchat. Good. When's Amazon? Amazon is August 1st. Okay, but it's not confirmed yet. All right, we'll see when Amazon has their earnings. Yeah, Amazon hasn't announced when they're going to do their next earnings report. Prices will not go back to normal. Yeah, well, normal is subjective. Hey, John, would you sell when there is a pullback on tech, or would you hold? I am thinking tech is a hard crash, and if it goes down, the dip will soon be bought. Any thoughts? It depends on how big of a dip there is, to be honest. Something needs to give in the economy. Housing and food are the main issues. In what way? Here, I gotta turn these headphones off and back on. Let me fix this. See, my headphones are acting weird. I'm gonna put these headphones on. All right, let me fix this. Put the headphones back on. Yeah, I mean, who said it? You can't ban. What did he say? Again, I'm not talking about you. Why do you think I'm talking about you, brother? Do not block a hacker. Why do you think I'm talking about you, man? I'm not talking about anybody specifically. I'm talking about, like, people get influenced for a lot of different reasons in the stock market. One of the reasons is because during election years, one side wants to make it seem like everything's the worst it could ever be, right? And so then you got a bunch of people mirroring that sentiment. They come out and say, oh, things are worse. Every little negative economic metric, they're acting like it's the end of the world, right? Because, again, it's an election year. You got to understand the nuance of election years, right? And again, this is coming from somebody like I have experienced these type of things, and I've seen it happen before. It's pretty consistent in terms of like sentiment bias, economic strength or weakness, all that stuff related to the election. And my advice to everybody here is to take a step back from that and try to look at things objectively. Objectively speaking, unemployment's relatively low, right? We're not talking about what it might be or what it is. Right now, unemployment's relatively low. The economy is decently strong, right? Payroll numbers are high. Again, unemployment's low. CPI was low, right? So overall, things are not the worst they could ever be. That's for sure. You know, again, in the 80s, inflation was at 20%. You know, interest rates are high right now, sure. And so you're going to get a lot of people acting like it's the worst it could ever be. Mostly, again, lenders, real estate agents, mortgage brokers. They're going to be the ones that are generally unhappy because interest rates are high, and they make a lot of money when interest rates are low. So they're going to be the loudest, so to speak. But it doesn't necessarily mean anything's broken. Interest rates should be high right now because they're combating inflation. And again, interest rates are high. We see inflation start to come down. That's a positive, optimistic thing. I don't think we should cut rates. Again, personally, I think we should keep rates high for as long as possible. I think things are working right now. Inflation's getting better. There's no reason to cut rates anytime soon. So let me know what you guys think. Yeah, and I dislike all of it. I don't like politics in general. I think both sides are equally toxic, to be honest. You know, if you don't think both sides are equally toxic, watch the Jerome Powell stream we did over the last 2 days. Both sides are horrible, you know. I just dislike all of it. I dislike the route. I'm a capitalist in nature. So, like, and again, if you trade stocks and you claim not to be a capitalist, you're silly. But I'm a capitalist in nature, but I think both sides of the political spectrum are just, you know, I don't root for anybody like it's my football team. I just try to stay out of it and make my money. I go by policy is the easiest way to put it. And I like and dislike policies that they have on both sides. Yeah, cutting rates is an instrument they have for when things look bad, and they don't need to use it when things look good. Right, 100%, exactly. Things are not looking bad right now. Again, you're going to have some people that are basically pushing for economic weakness and refuse to admit that they've been wrong, that start to, you know, isolate certain metrics to make it seem worse than it is. But again, unemployment relatively low, payroll numbers high, JOLTS job openings are pretty high. Yeah, inflation got better. Like, things are not looking that bad right now, despite it being an election year. And again, some people acting like it's the worst it's ever been, which is a silly thing as well. And again, I don't really root for either side. So it's not like, you know. John, keeping interest rates where they are will continue to have a negative impact on housing and car sales. Good. River. Hopefully it continues to have a negative impact on housing and car sales. You know why? Because housing and car sales have been inflated so much over the past 5 years. Prices for housing doubled. Real estate prices doubled. People were selling used cars for freaking 50 grand. Like, housing and car sales need to go down. That's the reason we're keeping interest rates high, is because those things got way out of control, way unrealistic. And those things need to get pushed down, you know. And again, of course, car salesmen are going to be mad. Mortgage brokers are going to be mad. Real estate agents are going to be mad. They can deal with it. Coming from a real estate agent myself, even though I don't even know if my license is active right now, that stuff needs to come back down. It's way too inflated. You know, it's unrealistic. But you said in the past that you don't want the rate cuts. Correct. I do not want rate cuts. Correct. Bringing interest rates down is going to make things worse. Let's keep rates high. Let's push housing down. Let's push car sales down. And let's help inflation is my logic. Again, let's keep inflation Let's keep combating inflation. Housing prices can correct a little bit, and I'm okay with it. Car prices can correct a little bit, and I'm okay with it. We shouldn't pander to lenders, car salesmen, and mortgage brokers just because they want to do more business. Like, you have to understand, real estate agents want rates to come down. Why? Because they sell more homes. But the cost of that is high prices in real estate. Car salesmen want prices to go down, want rates to come down. Why? Because it's a lot easier to sell a car if you can get a 3% loan on it. Right? But the consequence of doing that, again, is high car prices. Mortgage brokers want rates to go down. Why? Because they do a lot more business when they have lower interest rates. You know, the cost of that is higher house prices. We have to combat those things. We can't just always have strength in real estate and lending. Like, we need to bring it back down to earth a little bit, and that's why rates need to stay high. We could ultimately go into a recession. We could, but the signs don't show that either. You know, like, that's my point. And I'm with you. If we start to show signs of a recession, sure, start bringing rates down. But again, unemployment just is at 4.1%, brother. Again, inflation's relatively under control. Payroll numbers are still strong. Like if we showed big, massive signs for a recession, sure, but we don't, and nobody can give me a metric that shows big signs of a recession looming, because it's not. Also, guys, if you want to check out Top Step is a funded account program in futures where they give you a demo. They test your skill with a demo account. If you could pass the test, they fund you between $50K up to $150K with a 90% split. So they're going to give you a $50K demo. It's only $49 a month. Profit target is $3K. So you take that $50K, you got to make $3K in profit without losing $2K. It's a 3-to-2 ratio. If you pass that test, they fund you $50K with a 90% split, and they pay out millions, fund thousands of traders. It's a great way to learn how to day trade with limited risk. And if you lose, you're only out $50. It's not the end of the world. If you pass it, you get $50K in funding with a 90% split. It's just a great way to learn how to day trade. And in the futures market, you can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, currencies, gold, a lot of stuff. And patterns are very similar to blue chip stock patterns as well. And so again, if you want to check them out, I'll post this link. Great way to help support your boy here in this channel. And yeah, if you want to check them out, here's the link. Yeah, Top Step X has had a pretty good, rep lately. No, it's not options, it's futures. Man, what a manipulated market, just went up and down. Yeah, I mean, the reason that happened, though, brother, is specifically because, let's see, usually there's a reason. Raytheon was awarded a $1.2 billion contract. That's not why. Hold on, let me check the news. PepsiCo does not believe GLP drugs have material impact on the categories currently. So the weight loss drugs, Pepsi doesn't believe that. I'm looking at other news that just came out to see if there's another reason the market pulled back a little bit. I think what most likely happening here, and again, I don't know why the market pulled back. I thought there might be a reason, but it doesn't look like there is. It looks like markets are coming back down. What are you thinking about T-bill, John? You still hold a position? Yeah, I've got... I've got 1,400 shares of T-bill. It's about a $70,000 position, I think. But again, T-bill, like, just to show people this position here, they pay dividends, right? The dividends are where you make your money. So yeah, I've got 1,400. Again, T-bill pays divvies, and so this is about $50 times 1,400. See, that's a $70,000 position, but they pay dividends. And so if I got $70,000 worth, they're going to pay me about 5%, right? Which is about $3,500 a year based off of this position, right? But it's monthly dividend payments. So they're going to be paying me about $300 a month in dividend payments for TBIL. And so if I got $70,000 just kind of sitting, I might as well make $300 a month from TBIL. No? Right? Does that make sense? Like, that's why I got money parked in T-bill, is because I'm not doing anything else with it right now. Might as well, right? It's looking more like a hard landing. It's that the CPI is dropping too fast. No, I think again, like, people have to understand extension leading into these reports, right? Like, okay, think about it like this, okay? What happened to the SPY yesterday? Seriously, like, genuinely, everybody at home, stop what you're doing and listen to what I'm about to say, okay? What did the market do yesterday leading into CPI? What did the market do? Market broke freaking lifetime highs leading into CPI. I think it was lifetime highs. Yeah, market broke lifetime highs leading into CPI today. And so there's a very famous saying, buy the rumor, sell the news. Leading into CPI, what do you think happened in the market? Right, the market ended up buying the rumor of good CPI report. What did the market do yesterday? It broke lifetime highs. Okay, now, after the CPI report, what happens? What are all the people that got in long on short-term trades yesterday doing? They're taking a little bit of profit. They're taking profit into the news. Buy the rumor, sell the news. This happens very often. That's why it's a very common saying. The market's been breaking lifetime highs. It's not going to continue to go straight up regardless of any fundamental report. Like, fundamental news trumps technicals. But the one technical nuance that you have to pay attention to is extension. S&P, NASDAQ, gold, all around lifetime highs. It's not going to continue going up and up and up without a pullback. People are going to start taking profit. And that's probably what you're seeing right now, is that people are going to start taking profit. Market's up basically a lot. I think it's time for a pullback as well. Like, people act like I think the market's just going to go straight up and never pull back. I think the market needs to pull back right now. I'm not really buying up anything heavy because the market's up too much. I like to buy weakness, not strength. And so if I have a blue chip stock that's been dropping for 6 months that I think is a strong company, I'll buy that up. I'm not going to buy highs of the day constantly. It just doesn't make any logical sense to. Can you explain today's economic calendar? Well, today we had CPI inflation data, the consumer price index report. So markets factored that in. We're slightly green on the day. CPI showed up lower than expected. Gold moved up. Nvidia moved up on this report. Whether it holds is a different story, but right, a stock market correction is like a letter in the mail with no tracking. You know it's coming, you just don't know when. Sure, 100%. S&P is at all-time highs. More logical to buy crypto, which is down, and we'll do a catch-up. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you can see the SPY starting to bounce up a little bit too. Gold still moving up. Nvidia up to 136. Cobra, that's where I get my T-bills. Yeah, but we're talking about TBIL, the symbol. Here's a TBIL ETF. That'll just pay me my dividend interest and dividend payments. So TBIL will just pay me my interest and divvy payments. Makes it a lot easier than buying actual treasury bonds. You can do this, or you can do like CDs, certified deposits, but that's going to be a lot of work for the same type of thing. I'd rather just buy and sit on TBIL, get my interest payments sent to me in dividend payments, and make it a lot easier than fishing around for treasury bonds. I'm of the opinion that the market likes rate cuts around the corner, not on the doorstep. Therefore, I think very good data could provide mixed sentiment. Sure. So, like, okay, if the market thinks if the market thinks the stock market is going to drop at rate cuts, lower inflation data means what? It means more likely rate cuts. Maybe that's what the market's factoring in. I'm on the same thing, Blaze. I basically agree with that. But again, I don't think it's definitive in any way. I think we all can just kind of speculate on what we think it'll be. So this looks like it's this is basically 5% yield. You move a decimal place over and you get the percentage. So this would be 4.989%. Yeah, this is a strong report. I think we will go up today, especially with jobless claims going down. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. This is a very strong report. But John, the trend is your friend. The pullback will happen maybe after the election. I agree. I think so too. Again, I don't think the market's just going to go straight up. I think the market needs to pull back some. I think it's up too much already. Small caps, I think there will be a rotation of those. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't like the Russell necessarily. I've never been a big fan of the Russell. The Russell's up a lot, though. Look at the Russell right now. Small caps are reacting more positively than anything. Yeah, this may not be the buttery smooth soft landing, but not the hard crash many talking heads swore by. 100% agree. Yeah, I mean, this might not be the strongest economy ever, but I don't think we're going to get into a recession or depression necessarily. Yeah, I think the sign of most rookie traders is when they think every CPI report is going to crash the market. Why is the dollar down so much and stocks up? Specifically because inflation data came in much better than expected. Yeah, small caps are bullish. The Russell's up a lot. TNA is up. Yeah, I've never really traded the Russell either. Yeah, I don't think so either. The economy feels weak. The economy feels weak because inflation has gone up so much, is what it is. Right, so again, if the economy pushes up like this, right, inflation gets worse, right? If inflation goes up too much here, people have to pay much more prices, but that doesn't mean economic weakness. That just means prices are much higher, right? People might be struggling more in this scenario, even though it technically means economic growth, because prices are so high. So I think that's the lens people have to look at this under, is that if prices go up too much, people are unhappy. And I think the reason people are unhappy now is not because of some recession-like scenario like you hear some people put out, but it's more so that prices have gone up way too much and prices don't go back down. So once they go up, they're stuck. Like, we're not going to get them to go back down. And so that's why people are really unhappy, and that's why people feel like the economy is in a worse space than it actually is. What does the monthly membership to the channel get you? Nothing. It gets you emojis. We don't really sell any content, right? So my whole thing is like, I don't sell content. So I don't sell any content. We don't have any paywalls behind content. Everything's free. And so becoming a member is just a way to support the channel. No, it's because they printed money, and most of that money. Yeah, but I mean, okay. I mean, you basically just agreed with me, though, Cobra. You know, so again, I said people are unhappy. Why? People are unhappy because of high inflation. Inflations were too much. Inflation's gone up dramatically, right? And that's why people are really unhappy, is because prices are too high, right? You responded with, no, it's because they printed money. Correct. That's exactly correct, right? They printed money, and what was the consequence of printing money? Inflation. You know, the consequence of printing money is inflation, brother. You know, so like you just agreed with me. Oh, sorry. If so, then I'm done. Wait, what comment were you responding to from Zabiv? Anyways, it's all good. People are taking profit. Yeah, again, I've made enough money where I'm skeptical of buying up anything too heavy right now. Like Nvidia's up a lot. You know, maybe we continue higher. Nobody really knows. But I'm skeptical. You know, I might take a little bit off of Intel. We have ridden an Intel bounce back. We'll take a little bit off here. Take some profit off. All right, so we just took, you know, more than half of our Intel position off just to protect it. Yeah, beardless John emoji is there. Here it is. The beardless John, the goat. Yeah, tomorrow's PPI inflation data. We'll see what that looks like. All right, guys. Y'all do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. We're almost up to 143K. We're pushing towards 150,000 subscribers, chat. 150,000 subscribers. Hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. Yeah, John, I don't know if you understand economics. John Blassing says, how TF would printing more money make inflation? LMAO, markets going up, bud. Yeah, I think you don't understand economics, John. Because the correlation between money printing and inflation is one of the most obvious economics 101 lessons. Good day to you, sir. But research economics, brother, and then get back to me, bud. It's all love here. I mean, cheers to you. But anyways. Silly. Again, the Dunning-Kruger effect is real, guys. Anyways, Chewy up to $26 a share here. My guess is we'll never hear from him again. He'll create another account and pretend like he never said it. The real test to him is whether he learns from what I just said or gets his ego in the way and continues to think he's right and never learns anything. That's the real test. All right, we'll see. Learn from it, John. Learn from it. Anyways, Chewy up to $26 here. I don't know what I want to do with Chewy. I'm green on it. Yeah, very basic economics lesson, dude. But again, the problem is you got people that genuinely don't understand economics. They don't understand rate decisions. They don't understand inflation. And they're arguing. A lot of the times, again, they're mirroring political news, right? And they're just kind of giving out talking buzz points about it all. But again, it's really interesting stuff, guys. Like research economics, research why the Federal Reserve raises, lowers, controls interest rates, realize the cause and effect of each and why they choose to do it. And, you know, you'll learn some good stuff. Yeah, we day trade. We're going to day trade today. Market opens up in about 12 minutes. Whoa. I started keeping them this way. I kind of like this more. So we're going to get ready to day trade as well here. So here is a funded account. We'll see what this looks like. Yeah, CPI data might be in big, bold letters right here. Again, just a weatherman. It might be. In this area right here, you can see CPI month to month. You know. My stream was not live. 2 hours behind for some reason. Hey, it's all good, dude. Welcome. All right, guys, we got 10 minutes. 10 minutes. You guys ready to day trade? Market went up big, down big. Inflation data was pretty good. I think if we pull back, I'll probably buy the dip just because I think inflation data was good and came in negative versus a positive expectations, which means that this is one of those rare scenarios where inflation literally went down. Very rare. Very rare. And that's good. That's generally good. Drip. Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, that's kind of what I deal with on a regular basis. People arguing that, people making fun of me for thinking, gasp, that printing money causes inflation. What a shocker. I'm dumb for thinking that, apparently, guys. But again, these are the type of people that argue on the internet. Again, if you don't know what the Dunning-Kruger effect is, right? The Dunning-Kruger effect basically says that the people who know less about a subject typically, I'm not going to say are so dumb that they argue the most about it, but they know the least about it, right? And so they think they know the most, where experienced people in any subject or knowledge base generally recognize how little they know, and they understand the scale of, like, they understand that there's levels to these things, right? More than somebody who is just starting to learn something, right? So somebody that's just starting to learn something, they might think that they know almost all about it, where people who actually start to learn about something in depth realize how much little they know and are usually less argumentative about it, you know. I guess the point is, the dumbest people are the loudest is basically what it means in a nutshell. Coming from one of the top 3 loudest people on YouTube in the world right now. Confidence is key, unless you're horribly wrong. Ask Terrence Howard. T. Howard, man. Yeah, it's a fun little thing to watch. T. Howard versus the other guy, whatever his name was. I guess T. Howard's winning because I know his name over the other guy. Yeah, my favorite quote from The Big Short is, "Truth is like poetry, and most people freaking hate poetry." You know, that's my favorite Big Short quote. Yeah, we know that. Listen, now we know, guys, the key to stop inflation is just to print as much money as we can. You know, that'll settle it, right? Anyways, gold moving up, Nvidia moving up. Here's the Q. Where's Nvidia at? Nvidia at 136. Yeah, I'm genuinely curious. Are you? Let me know who you side with. Are you siding with Terrence Howard or Eric? Put Terrence or Eric, depending on who you side with in the chat. I'm genuinely curious. I'm not siding with either. You know, I'm genuinely curious. How many people ride for Terrence? But did you see those shapes? If it's acting, then it's Howard all day. Yeah. Yeah, so to put this into perspective for all those that don't understand, Terrence Howard, famously known from Hustle and Flow, the movie. Terrence Howard, the main actor in Hustle and Flow, basically came out recently criticizing 1 times 1, arguing that 1 times 1 does not actually equal 1, but instead 1 times 1 equals 2. And then he goes on the Joe Rogan Experience and then argues with a mathematician / physics guy about why 1 times 1 does not equal 1. It's a really interesting thing to watch. It's hilarious at the same time. But yeah. You're welcome. Go watch it. It's fun to watch. All right. Anyways, gold spiking up a little bit leading into the opening bell in 5 minutes. Gold up to 24.17s, broke recent highs. Neil deGrasse Tyson made a video about Terrence Howard basically sent Neil deGrasse Tyson some of his points. Neil deGrasse Tyson was basically very politely saying, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, Terrence. Like, none of this stuff that you sent me makes any sense at all, and you might want to research more about these subjects. And then Terrence basically said that Neil deGrasse Tyson was a hater, basically. It's an interesting subject to watch. There's a lot of videos on it. He's the classic example of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Exactly right, right? Like, that's why I'm bringing this up, is because Terrence is a perfect example of the Dunning-Kruger effect. And what's even crazier is you got people arguing for him. The people arguing for him genuinely have no idea, like, what they're talking about, and they have no idea on the subjects at hand, yet they continue to argue about them more and more. I would argue Terrence Howard is not the Dunning-Kruger effect, but more so the people arguing in his favor are. I think Terrence probably knows he's wrong, and it's just trying to get attention, which makes it kind of genius anyway. So I'm not really hating on Terrence either. I think Terrence is just getting attention, which is fine. You know, that's part of the game, I guess. All right, guys. Whew, we're going to get ready today to day trade the opening bell here. We'll see how it goes. Well, McDonald's pump. I don't know. I'm green on the day. That's nice. Snowflake. We added a Snowflake yesterday. Snowflake stock. And we're green on that. We're also green on SoFi today. Soundhound, we're green on it as well. We made some money on T-bills, appreciating. We're up a little bit on Target. Etsy, we're even green on. Etsy is one of my larger losing positions. I don't know whether I should sell it or not. I saw Tyson's response. Yeah. Tyson basically was very nice about it. Neil deGrasse Tyson essentially told Howard, hey, the shapes that you've made are beautiful, but you don't know what you're talking about. You know, so like, hey, your shapes are really pretty, but outside of that, you're wrong. And that's basically what the same thing that Eric told him as well. Here's a pullback on the NASDAQ chat. So we are pulling back a little bit. NVIDIA at 136. Yeah, I haven't eaten at McDonald's in years. I stopped eating there a long time ago. I love their breakfast too. Their breakfast was really good. But yeah, I've been trying to eat healthier is what it is. It's nothing against, like, I haven't eaten at almost any fast food places outside of maybe Chick-fil-A in a while. Yeah, Eric was really nice to him too. You could tell Eric was trying not to get attacked by everybody online that supports Terrence, right? So Eric was trying to do it in the most nice way possible so that he didn't get attacked, right? But the problem with how Eric did it is that it actually gave Terrence Howard supporters like more arguments in Terrence's favor, because instead of just kind of dismantling what Terrence said, he gave him a little bit more room, and then now they're making videos acting like Eric said Terrence was like a mathematical genius when he's not, and it made it worse, I think, to be honest. But anyways, 30 seconds, guys, until the opening bell. 30 seconds. 20 years now. Wow. Nice, man. Vancouver. Most experienced people legit listen more than they talk. Yeah, I mean, it depends. right, guys, here's the opening bell. Ding, ding, ding. There's the opening bell. So market just opened. NVIDIA down at 135s. We'll put a Tesla up here. Gold is on the left side. Tesla right at the previous closing price. Market's flushing down a little bit here. NVIDIA correcting some. All right, so we're long. We bought the dip. All right, so we just made about $100, I think, or close to it. Terrence was right about what? Explain what Terrence is correct about in detail. Again, my guess is people can't because they're just siding with him to side with him, right? AMC moving up to 530s. Gold is up, but it's actually dipping down some here. So we are buying this dip again in the market. All right, so we just made another $100 or so. We're actually green on the day. NVIDIA's starting to run all the way back up here. So I said I would buy the dip if we pulled back. Right, so we are long here. See if we can ride this bounce up. We got one contract here. We're going to add a little bit to it here. See if we get a flush. Or a bounce up, I mean. Alright, we just took half off. Just made another. So again, we're up a couple $100 on the day scalping this movement here. You can kind of see NVIDIA starting to bounce. I made 7 to 8K profit just by holding my short positions from yesterday. And what? Market's mostly green yesterday, no? Get NVIDIA starting to bounce back up. We'll see if we get anything good now. Again, so we're day trading on Apex's funded account program. Again, if you want to check out and day trade futures, you should be day trading the NASDAQ here on the left. I'm looking at Tesla, NVIDIA, and gold to influence this position. But if you want to day trade with me in futures, there's no PDT in futures. You can day trade short, buy market, sell market. Very similar to day trading stocks. There's just no PDT rule. And you can trade the S&P, basically the SPY. You can trade the QQQ price action in the NASDAQ. You can trade gold. And again, the patterns are very similar to blue chip stocks. Apex gives you a demo. Test your skill with the demo. If you pass the test with the demo, they fund you the same amount as the demo, which is between 25K up to 300K with a 90% split. And if you fail, if you use my link, you can get the base one for $35. You can also get the 150K, 250K, and 300K challenge, where you get funded with 300K, 150, 250K for $35, basically, if you use my link and coupon code. So it's a great way to learn how to day trade with limited risk. And again, Apex is one of the most legit in the world. They've paid out hundreds of millions of dollars to their traders. A great way to learn how to day trade. I'll put the link up here if you want to check it out. They are a sponsor, though. They pay me money, so of course I'm biased because they pay me money. I always try to be transparent, confirm everything with them. I'm not even claiming to be a good trader or anything like that. So check it out. And yeah, I might buy this dip. We're already up a couple hundred on the day, though, on this account. Kind of a back and forth day, though. Here's my P&L. So we are up about 185, actually. 3-to-1 win-loss ratio, so I'll take it. I'm trying to be patient here with it, though. Seems to be selling off right now. It won't last long. Thinking of an upward trend for the overall rest of the month of July. Yeah, I don't know. I think the market's already up a lot, so I'm a little skeptical in that. All right, so we're up. I might add to this position here. Like, I'm buying it at the bottom of the range, and I'm seeing if we're going to test the top. So I'll just sit on this. We got 2 contracts here. Again, I think we're gonna go up, but I might be wrong. Try to let things consolidate and play out here, but it's taking a while. Right, we took half off just to protect the trade so that we didn't lose anything. We're basically flat there. And now we're grinding up some. All right, so we just took a little bit more off, so now we're at 250. I could have held it longer, but it's just taking too long to rise. Here's the P&L. Put the SPY up. I mean, the NASDAQ is right here on the left. I actually think we're a little bit, like, indecisive today for markets. Oh, wait, it's you, John. What happened? Oh, look, it's you, guy. So John, the guy who said printing money doesn't cause inflation and that I was dumb for thinking that, is now back. How is it not moving up fast? It's bull because of inflation and rate cut. Yeah, I mean, John, again, you very clearly don't understand economics, brother. It seems like you're just kind of throwing out buzzwords to seem smart. No offense to you. Again, I would research economics, brother. And I would also be less critical of people that actually understand it. Just a little advice to you, kind sir. I'm willing to bet John is 15. Yeah, you mean John Blassing above you. Yeah, he might, yeah. Again, typically people who are arguing, or just to argue, are a little bit younger, I would say. I was watching a YouTube video and they explained it all. Okay, good, man. I think it's important, to learn. It's good stuff, man. I'm not trying to hate. If you learn from it and you recognize you were wrong and you learn from it, hey, it's all good, bro. I think it's important. Government spending is the main cause of inflation, 100%, right? Absolutely agree. All right, so now we're falling down a little bit. We're up small on the day. We're at the bottom of the range, though, so I'm actually going to buy this dip. It's a little risky. All right, but we just made $100 real quick, so we are now up 350 here on the day. You love to see it. Basically a 3-to-1 win-loss ratio. I probably could have held it a little bit longer. He's just saying dumb stuff he knows will get you to squirm. I like going back and forth. I got the debater personality type, and so I actually like going back and forth with people. To me, it's fun, you know. That's why I always tell the haters, like, they think they're rubbing me the wrong way or like hurting my day. I honestly enjoy going back and forth with people, you know. And as long as we can do it respectfully, it's all good. All right, so we just made a little bit more. We're up about 400 on the day here. It's kind of like picking up pennies in front of a train track, right? Which is kind of why you see like my gains get smaller and smaller. You know, it's because eventually it's not going to work, and I don't want to get stuck in that. But we're up about 4 on the day. I could have held it and made more though. Look at that retracement. That's what I was betting on. We go live every day, right? Every day we go live. Tesla gold started to pull out a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and buy this dip. So we just made a little bit more. We're up slightly over 400. You can see we're up about 403. 3.25 to 1 win-loss ratio. Pretty good day. I mean, day trading. I might switch accounts now and trade a different account. So this is our actual funded account here, so we might switch and just, you know. All right, so yeah, we're gonna switch. So this is Apex. We're gonna try to get funded on this Apex account now. I'll go ahead and add a little bit more to this. All right, so we are up about 1,000 or so on the day here. I might actually add more on a dip now on this account. Yeah, we're up about a K. All right, so we're about halfway there to getting funded on this account. We're gonna buy a dip now too, though, so we'll see if we can. All right, maybe we could have held at this and made some money, but it's all good. we're up about 2. We're just gonna add right back on these dips. See if we get a continued bounce here. So we just added back. Again, this is a funded account program, so we're just trying to get funded on this one. We got 10 contracts now. We only need, let me see how much we need. Yeah, we only need about $1,000 in profit to get there. All right, wait. Yeah. Okay. We're almost there. I think we just beat it. Let me see. Ooh, we did it. All right, we got funded. And that's it. So we got funded here. Again, that's a $3,000 profit in this funded account, mostly helping by Tesla. And we're in Tesla in stocks as well. So yeah, we're in Tesla with stocks. I'll take it. Yeah, sorry, I've been a little bit quieter. What's your typing speeds? 80 to 100 words a minute, roughly. Let's see. John, 4 people that don't get how massive QE has caused inflation do the old 100 people in a room, each with $1, buy 100 cupcakes at $1 each, then suddenly another $100 drops from the ceiling analogy. Yeah. Now I gotta understand this cupcake analogy. I've never heard that one. Let's see how good AI is. I asked AI, very simple terms, explain the cupcake analogy with 100 people. Imagine 100 people trying to bake the perfect cupcake. The process involves testing different recipes, ingredients, and methods to find the best results. Similarly, scientific theories must be rigorously tested and validated before being accepted. This analogy was used to illustrate the importance of precise terminology and validated methods in scientific discussions, contrasting Howard's less conventional approach with Weinstein's rigorous scientific standards. All right, I don't... Yeah. Philip, explain the analogy, because AI doesn't seem to get this right, and or maybe it does, and I just didn't see that part of it. Pawn is a bot? You didn't know Pawn was AI? You know, you could be a court reporter if this trading thing doesn't work out. Yeah, there's not really many ways to monetize my skill set of typing fast, and I think typing fast is an obsolete thing too, because AI is taking over. You don't really need to type fast anymore, unfortunately. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Got you. Oh, you're giving a correlation to inflation. I thought you were correlating Dunning-Kruger. No, all good. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Prices are always going to go up. Right, I use the bubblegum analogy where if you put a piece of, like, to understand why businesses do it, if I sold bubblegum at a store and I set out pieces of bubblegum at 25 cents a piece, and every day by noon they were sold out, what am I going to do as a business owner? I could put out more pieces, of course, but the easier thing to do would just be to raise the price from 25 cents to 35 cents, thus inflating the price of bubblegum because of too much buys. That's when you extrapolate that over the entire economy, that's why inflation rises. That's why more spending causes inflation, right? Because more spending equals more buying, and more buying equals higher prices is the easiest way to put it. But no, I agree. You basically said the same thing then. Yeah, the joke, guys, is Pawn is not AI. Pawn is a bot. Or no, Pawn is not a bot. Pawn is not AI. He's a moderator. He's an actual person. His name's Pawn because he ran pawn shops up where he lives. So, yeah. All right, guys. Tesla rising up. Gold moving up. Nvidia falling down a little bit here. All right, so gold's rising. Live subtitle translation. Yeah, AI is going to replace that within the next... AI probably already has replaced that. Yeah, no, AI gave me some type of cupcake analogy with 100 people versus Terrence Howard and Eric Weinstein. So AI, I don't even know. Let me ask him then. Did they talk about cupcakes on the episode? If they did, that's the biggest coincidence I've ever seen. There doesn't specific... Okay, yeah. Look at Tesla, guys. Hey, Tesla's rising. What's my portfolio look like today? We sold a little bit of Intel this morning. Chewy's rising too. Oh, we're up nice today. Wow. Nike bouncing back some is really what's doing it. PayPal back to almost green. T-Bill's paying me a little bit too. Target's up. That's nice. Yeah, cupcake analogies. Top 3 cupcake analogies in the world right now. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Again, if you haven't already, check out Apex. Apex is a funded account program in futures. They give you a demo. They test your skill. Today, we are up about $400 in futures, and we got funded on another one today. And so here's the funded one where we made 3K. The other one is, or here's the challenge account where we're up 3K. We got funded on a 50K challenge, and then here is the actual funded account that we're up about $400 today. I'll take it. If you want to day trade with me in futures, try out Apex. I'll put the link up. Great way to help support the channel. They're a sponsor of mine, or they're an affiliate of mine. They pay me money, so I'm biased. Check everything with them first. It's always safe to do that. And a great way to learn how to day trade. Most day traders lose. Most day traders will probably lose here as well. It's a lot cheaper to lose here than it is to put up 4 or 5K and lose that. And most day traders lose. And so they give you a demo, test your skill with a demo. If you pass the test with the demo, they fund you with an actual account. If you lose, the base one's $35 a month. You can also get the 150, 250, and 300K for only $35 a month. Great way to learn how to day trade. And in the futures market, there's no PDT rule. You can day trade the S&P, NASDAQ, gold. Patterns are very similar to blue chip stocks. Check them out. But again, remember, they are a sponsor. I'm biased. Top 3 worst trader of all time. I do trade off stream. You're not going to see all my trades. Understand CFTC 4.41. Hypothetical or simulated performance have limitations. Again, guys, most day traders lose. I'll see you guys later. Y'all be good. Love you all. Y'all have a great day. Inflation data came in high, or came in low, and the market's falling. I'll see you guys tomorrow. PPI inflation data tomorrow, guys. PPI inflation data drops tomorrow, bright and early. Be there. I'll see you guys later. Y'all be good. GameStop's running up a little bit too. I'll take it. Y'all be good. Good luck.